Your Honor, this is case number 416 on the calendar in the matter of Houston versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Thank you, Bert.
You're quite welcome, Judge.
You're not involved with this case yet, perhaps as a witness. Is that right? Why don't you have a seat? Okay. And neither are you, so why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
Mr. Houston, the defendant was a friend of yours.
Yep.
You had been arrested for domestic violence, and according to your complaint, called the defendant and asked for his help. And according to you, you said to him, you can take my rifle and hold it as collateral for some money that I'm going to give you for being such a good friend.
Yep.
That's not true.
Just a second. Then you got out of jail, and he refuses to return the rifle to you, despite the fact that you offered them $100 for it.
Yep.
You want the rifle back.
Yes, ma'am.
Defendant says that the rifle was given to him as a gift.
That's right.
And in addition, he is counterclaiming for some nonsense about fluorescent light bulb.
He spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time.
Whatever. We'll get there.
It's not nonsense, Your Honor.
Mr. Houston, when were you arrested, sir?
The first time I was arrested was August 4th, and that got dismissed and dropped to disturbing the peace.
Your Honor, he was arrested in
later in September,
Don't interrupt.
my wife and I got in another fight. The neighbors called the police. When the police showed up, they got on the computer and saw that there was a no contact order, so they arrested me. When I saw the judge for arraignment, they immediately said 2.5 years in jail and a $50,000 bond, which basically scared me to death.
That's when he got his wife a life on.
Listen to me. If you interrupt again, it's not going to be good for your case. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good.
So at that point, I tried to make phone calls to my sister and to my wife, and I couldn't do that through the phone system in the jail. And so I was calling Paul to assist me in that situation. He had an attitude that he didn't want to be bothered with it. We were supposed to be friends. I mean, we've been friends for 7 years.
Let's get to the rifle, please.
It came up with a situation where I offered him $100 to help me out, if that's what it took to get my friend to help.
He offered me his deer rifle.
And
I am going to throw you out if you do it again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
We proceed my way, which is I hear him, I hear you, I ask questions. If I look at you, you respond. If I don't look at you, you don't speak. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So you offered him $100 to help you. That's what you're telling me.
in a sense, and I asked him if he could go pick up my items, so when I got out, I would not be able to go back home. And he acted annoyed. He didn't really want to do this, so that's when I offered him the $100 situation. And I says, look, Paul, when you go pick up my stuff, you can hold my rifle for me as collateral until I pay the $100. And then all of a sudden he was all excited about it. Well, okay, I'll help you out.
And then you got out of jail, and he helped you out.
Well, when I got out of jail...
No, he helped you out.
He made phone calls.
Good.
And he went and got my stuff for me, my truck.
Okay, and the rifle.
Yeah. Now, when I got out of jail, he wouldn't let me stay at his home because he had his grandparents over there. But besides that fact, my wife had moved out of the house. And so I immediately went and got a court order to allow me to move back into my own home.
Now, okay, let's get to the rifle.
He came over to my house, and he sat down and started talking, and I asked him to go get my rifle, and I give him a $100 check. And he at that time told me that he had given it to his father, which made me very off. So I asked him to leave my home immediately because I didn't want to get in trouble for any kind of domestic violence.
Okay. Now, sir, I'll hear your version of the rifle.
Okay, he was in and out of jail starting in April. I picked him up from jail every time he was there.
How many times did you pick him up?
At least 3.
2
I
times.
can remember. I took him out to dinner after I picked him up, gave him cigarettes when he got out of jail. He called me repeatedly, constantly, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day, whining and crying he's in jail. Please get me out of here, please get me out of here. Of course, the last time he got out of jail, I didn't give him a place to stay because my grandparents were there. That was the last time. Plus, I was fed up with it anyway. Now, come to the rifle, he's crying on the phone, whining, I'm doing everything I can, bending over backwards for the guy.
He called you from jail?
Yeah, constantly. He goes, you know, for helping me out, you're such a good friend, and I don't have any money to give you, but I'll give you the rifle because I know you like it for your time and effort and just bending over backwards for me. Well, as a friend, that's great. So I took the rifle. So we went to pick up the rifle from Darla, me and my wife, and when I got the rifle, she goes, don't ever let Rhett buy this rifle back or give it to him. Because if something happens to you, it's going to be on your conscience. Next thing you know, I pick up Darla from the hospital because her arm's all bruised up and sprained.
Is that as a result of this domestic violence dispute?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Then I just decided forget it. I got the rifle out of my control, and I said, forget it. I'm not going to let him buy it back from me. I'm not going to even give it back. Because if something does happen, it is on my conscience.
Well, just 1 second. Was there any mention the point where he said take the rifle of his wanting to buy the rifle back from you?
No, not at all.
At that point, he just said take it.
For my time and effort and everything else.
I believe you.
Okay.
Because I watched his eyes when he said to me,
I have a witness that heard the conversation. My
Really?
sister.
My witness heard the conversation on the
Appreciate it if you heard
speakerphone.
I'm more than happy to hear a witness. Who's the witness?
My sister Jade.
Tell me your name.
Jade Houston.
All right, Miss Houston. You overheard the conversation about the rifle?
My brother Hugh said, I'm giving him the rifle as collateral to give him $100 when I'm able to get back to work to get the money.
You heard him say that?
Yes, I did.
That's what he told her, but that's not what he told me.
I was on
Ma'am,
the, I was
That's
on
not
the
what he told me
phone.
and my wife. That's not what he told me. She was on the speakerphone at the
And
time
I-
he said it.
You're the wife?
Yes.
Step up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hugh Houston says after he was arrested for domestic violence, he gave former friend Paul Pierce a rifle as collateral for bail. Hugh says Paul refuses to return it.
Mrs. Houston, there came a time when the defendant came to your house when your husband was incarcerated. You evidently had a rifle in your house that belonged to your husband.
Yes.
What did Mr. Pierce say to you when he came to the house?
He said he needed to pick up the rifle and Hugh's belongings. And I was kind of scared, and I told him, you know, that he needed to keep this rifle because I was scared.
He never said to you at any time that he picked up the rifle, that it was just as collateral for other monies. Is that right?
No, he never said. He just said that he needed to pick up his gun and his
clothes.
tools and his truck
And his
things
truck
like
and his
that.
clothes,
Yes.
and you gave it to him.
Yes.
And how many times had Mr. Pierce come to your husband's assistance when he had been incarcerated? More than two?
I would say 2 or 3 times, yes.
Okay, and that was going to jail, taking care of the bail bondsman, whatever had to be done, coming to your house, picking up stuff for him, that sort of stuff?
Yes.
So he was a pretty reasonable friend. Be a fair statement?
Yes, he was.
Are you back living together now?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
Well, we're not leaving.
17 years.
We're not legally married, is what she was going to say. How long have you been together?
17 years.
You have children?
1.
How old?
She's 9.
She at home when these acts of domestic violence take place?
Yes.
Big mistake. Have a seat.
Okay.
Okay. Let me hear. You may be seated. Let me hear about your counterclaim, Mr. Pierce.
I gave him petty cash. I bought him dinner a couple of times. He stayed in our guest house for a little while, and my wife keeps her ferret and her cat there.
This is a shack, not a guest house.
Mr. Houston,
doesn't
I don't
matter.
want Mr. Houston. Uncross your arms and be quiet unless I'm speaking to you.
Anyway, we let him stay in the studio. But the thing is he was taking the light bulbs out for some reason, the fluorescent light bulbs, taking them out. The ferret walks out. He jumps up onto the cot, breaks the cot, and broke the light bulbs. Now, I didn't see it, but he told my wife, and my wife had
That's
to
a
clean it up.
lie.
So,
So we're suing for the light bulbs, the cot, all the collect calls from jail, which adds up to about $120.
well, do you have proof of the
Yes, I do.
calls from jail? I'd like to see that, please.
There's a couple calls on there I didn't get on there. I just misplaced the bill.
It's all right with you, ma'am. I'd like to see these phone numbers that he's claiming against me.
I'm going to absolutely show you, sir. All right. All I want you to do, Mr. Houston, is to take a look at these phone charges, sir. All collect calls.
I'd have to say that these calls are probably legit.
Okay, good. Fine.
Now, he did stay with us on and off, and yeah, he did get his place back after he got out of jail.
That's okay, sir. You had no rental agreement with him.
No.
Mr. Houston, I don't know whether anybody else gave you a pep talk about what happens when children witness acts of
I'm
domestic
fully aware of it,
violence.
ma'am.
I'm sure that
At this point
have.
right now, I do have counseling happening, and I am attending it.
Anger management program?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
And what about your child? Is it a boy or a girl?
It's my daughter.
Is she in counseling as well?
No, she's not.
She ought to be.
She's a happy child.
She's not a happy child. Happy children don't see their parents fighting and their mothers ending up in slings. Happy children, if they hear
We had
arguing.
we had a very stressful time in our lives. My mother
I
was
understand.
dying, and our financial
Allegedly, I don't
situation
care.
was bad because
I
I
don't
was doing
care.
a lot of traveling back and
Mr.
forth.
Houston, doesn't make any difference.
I know it doesn't.
Children
ma'am.
don't. All I'm doing is suggesting to you that if you're in counseling, I don't know if your wife is in counseling, But certainly, if you want to be good parents, you make sure that your child has somebody to speak to, because that's important. She may not be able to verbalize it to you, but she's probably witnessed things that it's unfair for a child to have witnessed, and you're supposed to make sure that you are protective of her.
I totally agree with that.
Okay? And
What I don't agree with is the way you believe his story, because there's no way in a million years I'd give up my rifle.
Yes, you would. If you were in jail and you wanted out fast enough, you would.
Ma'am, it's not true. It's not true at all.
Yes, it is.
The fact of the matter, I was giving him $100 to cover the expenses of the situation.
Okay, no, you
Now, I
can give
expected him to be a friend, and he really didn't want to act as one. And I offered, Paul,
Mr.
you can
Houston,
hold on to
Mr.
my
Houston,
rifle. It's
can I ask you-
collateral.
Can I ask
And
you a
that's what it
question?
became,
Can
collateral.
I ask you a question, sir? What acts of friendship have you done for Mr. Pierce?
The reason what have I done for him?
Yeah, I would like to.
This is a guy who came over to our house for holiday dinners. This is the guy I offered my garage for him to fix his car. Well, when I asked him not to put oil all over my driveway, and he spilled oil all over the entire garage.
You're
and
right.
they smeared it all over the
hear you.
place.
Just
This is
a
a man
second.
that has no integrity about anything
No,
whatsoever.
no,
but his
you're
own
not
self
answering my
oil.
question, Mr. Houston. My question to you, sir, is what have you done in the framework of your friendship for Mr. Pierce?
He calls me periodically, lots of times, to talk about his son. He has a custody situation with his son.
So he
asks
calls
me
you
for
for advice.
and guidance towards that
I
situation.
would never want.
Shh. Hey,
He just recently, he had to rebuild the Toyota engine in his Toyota truck. I came over here about 3 days in a row and helped him with that. I'm a helpful guy. I go out of my way to help people when they need help.
it doesn't
I'm not
compare.
one to sit
It
there
doesn't
and
compare, Mr. Houston, to the aggravation that your incarcerations caused him. Doesn't compare.
But-
Having him over for dinner is not it, and I can, quite frankly, Mr. Houston, envision the conversation of you like the rifle, take it.
No,
And
ma'am,
you
it's
shouldn't have
not
the
the way
rifle
it
in your
went
possession
down.
anyway, so you're not getting the rifle back, and in addition, you're going to pay him for the phone calls that you made collect to his house in the amount of $160. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's a piece of garbage. I want my rifle back.
It's just slime bags like that, that take advantage of everybody.
You should have called him and said, do you have my money? If not, I'm going to get rid of the gun.
Darla needs to get out of that relationship. He constantly beat her for the last 10 or 15 years.
To carry things by yourself and don't trust a soul.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Allen versus Phoenix. Step forward, please.
35-year-old caterer Dan Allen is suing 25-year-old office manager Destiny Phoenix for slander. Dan claims statements made by Destiny caused him to lose business.
All right, this case is really in two parts, so let me try to explain it as I understand it and tell you why it's in two parts. Mr. Allen, you have a small catering business. You make burritos, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had the defendant as a client, which means that you would come up in your truck every day
Yes, ma'am.
where you made your burritos, and you would get orders from the personnel that worked in her office.
Right.
You would make the burritos, and you would do this not only for her company, but for others.
Correct.
It is your claim that because of things that she said about your business, which were untrue, you lost her business. And in addition, the second part of your claim is that she made defamatory remarks about your business to other businesses who used your service, and they also canceled your service. Now, did you have a contract with the defendant?
A written contract, we had a verbal contract.
And what was the verbal contract, sir?
That would be okay for me to come by every day at a certain time to sell my food.
So that is a day-to-day operation. You didn't have a year's contract with her, a 6-month contract with her, so she could say to you, I don't want you to come into the place anymore to sell burritos, or I'm not going to use your service because, I don't know, because we don't like burritos anymore. So she doesn't have to give you any reason whatsoever.
That's correct.
So the first part of your lawsuit is dismissed. And the second part of your lawsuit is that she made untruthful statements about your little business to other people, therefore causing you to lose business. So you have to establish to my satisfaction, first, that she made the statements to other businesses, and second, that the statements she made were untrue. Do you understand what your legal burden is?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me first, what statements can you establish that she made to other businesses that used your service?
Sure, I have a witness, Chris Laro, who I've been servicing food to for the past year and a half approximately, and I'm there every day. And I was there about 15 minutes after I was at Destiny Phoenix's business. So he saw me that same day. This is regarding the fact that she said I reeked of beer. He would definitely have noticed that.
Oh, no, don't tell me. Step up, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Chris Laro.
Mr. Laro,
Yes,
What
ma'am.
kind of business do you have, sir?
I am actually a law clerk at a law firm that Mr. Allen services. I am not the witness. I don't believe that he would like to call to prove the defamation. I'm here as a character witness only to prove that I have not seen him ever smelling of alcohol, that he's maintained a professional
So is
business.
what you're telling me that Miss Phoenix never made any statements to you
That's correct, ma'am.
with regard to Mr. Allen's job?
That's correct. Mr. Allen has a written statement from
I
the-
don't take written statements.
Okay.
You understand that you're a law clerk.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to law school now?
Yes, I am.
What year are you in, sir?
I'm in my 3rd year.
So you know a little bit about hearsay.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And what are written statements?
They are out-of-court statements offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Correct. And according to the rules of evidence, sir, that would be inadmissible. Is that right?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. So far, you're halfway to passing the bar. Mr. Allen, do you have any other proof, sir, that the defendant made statements to any other business which were untrue, which caused you to lose business?
I believe she referred to the fact that I did not have a food license in this recording that I have of her that she left on my phone.
I'm not talking about your phone, sir. I'm talking about other people who your business serviced.
I just have a written statement, and I just have my food license here to prove that I have a food license.
You have to be able to establish to me, sir, that the defendant said to a third party something about you that wasn't true, which caused you to lose business. There are certain rules which your witness knows about, which courts will accept an out-of-court sworn statement. What is the reason that that person cannot be here today?
He did not want to take off work.
That's not a reason, sir.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Laro, anything else you want to say? I would love to do this legal exercise with you, sir. It's been a slow day so far. Go ahead.
I fear of taking a beating on national TV, but nevertheless, I think that in the interest of allowing this court to look at the totality of the circumstances here, possibly the court could let him admit this hearsay statement, the facts that we are here in small claims court, and the federal or state rules of evidence are a little bit lax for small claims court. I think that you would be able to see that it was relevant and authentic, Your Honor.
One of the reasons that we do not allow out-of-court statements, sir, only under very, very strong criteria, is because it does not allow the defendant to cross-examine the maker of that statement. That means that if I were to look at that statement, I would have to, in my own head, say, everything in that statement is true, because it does not give Miss Phoenix an opportunity to ask any questions, or for me, on her behalf, like I'm asking Mr. Allen questions, to ask that person questions. That's the reason why we do not permit hearsay statements, because it's inherently unfair to the other side. And the fact that this is a court program that happens to be televised does not obfuscate the need to have reliable evidence.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right? Reliable evidence. Hearsay evidence is inherently unreliable. So that your case is dismissed, Mr. Allen.
Parties are excused.
But you were very good, sir.
Thank you.
You may obfuscate the courtroom.
Judge Judy. Legal assistant Robbie Gibbs is suing her former babysitter, 16-year-old Clarissa Thompson, and her parents Ethel and Paul Thompson. Robbie says, while babysitting her children, Clarissa ran up her phone bill. The Thompsons are countersuing for their daughter's unpaid babysitting fees.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 79 on the calendar in the matter of Gibbs versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Gibbs, the defendant's daughter, I assume this young lady.
Yes.
Is a babysitter for you.
Briefly, yes.
And your lawsuit wants her parents to pay for the following, because she's a minor.
Correct.
She ran up a phone bill from your house? Mm-hmm. So you want them to pay for the phone bill?
Correct.
And you want a return of the money that you paid her for babysitting?
Yes.
Because you say she was not a good babysitter.
Not exactly because she wasn't a good one, but more or less she was not attending to them.
Okay, that's your lawsuit. The Thompsons have a counterclaim, and the Thompsons want you to pay more for babysitting because they say that you owe their daughter for babysitting. And they say that they also want punitive damages because they say that you were a bad influence on their daughter, which they will explain to me. So let's see where we can fix some responsibility here. What is your first name?
Clarissa.
When did Clarissa start to babysit for you?
Early February. I probably have an exact date in my calendar. Yeah, early February, like around the 9th, I believe, is the first time she babysat for me.
And how did you find her?
They lived above me in the apartment complex and had talked about babysitting and asked her to come over a few times prior
Who
to
did
that.
you talk to?
Clarissa.
Directly.
Yes.
So that all the arrangements that you made were with Clarissa.
Yes, ma'am.
And you arranged a fee?
Yes. After about a week or so, we decided that I would just go ahead and give her $30 a week because I was using her for an hour here, an hour there during the week.
So far, Clarissa, is that correct that she was going to pay you
No, it
$30 a week?
No, it is not.
Well, what was she supposed to pay you?
Well, she agreed to pay me $20 every time I babysat for her, which led to almost every day.
Really? $20 a day, even if you only babysat for an hour?
It was more than an hour. I would stay overnight sometimes because she would come home so late.
So starting the beginning of February, she started to babysit for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right, Clarissa?
Yes, I started February 12th, actually.
Okay. Did she babysit for you in March?
Yes, she did.
Is that right, Clarissa?
Yes.
And you got paid?
Not really. She only paid me like once, and that was $60.
In all the time that you babysat
Yes.
for her?
Only $60.
Really?
Yes.
What about April? Did she babysit for you?
No,
in
ma'am. I
April?
received my first phone bill on March 24th.
And that's when you stopped the babysitting?
Actually, I
arrangement.
had stopped babysitting about a week prior to that. I had come home and my 2-year-old had burned a popsicle stick on the stove. He said he was cooking it.
Okay. And how many weeks in total had she babysat for you?
Approximately 4 or 5.
How many weeks?
6.
Let's go through your book and figure out exactly how many weeks she babysat for
Would
you.
you like the book?
Yeah.
I didn't write down always when she babysat. I know I have the first few times written down.
She babysat every week for you after you hired her. She babysat for you for 5 weeks. Now, according to you, you were supposed to pay her $30 a week.
February 22nd was the first time I gave her $30. So I would imagine it would have been the first part of that week that we had made that agreement.
Well, then it's 4 weeks.
Okay, so
4
it's about a
weeks
week.
times 30 is $120. Now, how much had you actually paid her?
I've actually paid $140 because of the time prior to that.
So according to your records, you're all paid up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, tell me about the phone bill.
Clarissa would use the phone when she babysat, and from the very beginning I told her I did not have a problem with her using the phone, not to make long-distance calls. I'm a single mother. I don't have means to pay for long distance. I don't use long distance myself. I received my first bill on March 24th, I believe it was, that I put on there, and the long distance charges for that month were $308.40.
Who were you calling, Clarissa?
It was an ex-boyfriend of mine at the time.
Did you know that that was the wrong thing to do?
When I first started babysitting for her, she told me that I had all privileges of the phone. She never told me not to make long-distance calls.
Well, did you make those long-distance calls in your own house?
Sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes?
Well,
Did you ever get a phone bill for $300 a month?
No, ma'am.
No, of course not. Don't fool around with me, Clarissa. Don't fool around with me. Okay, so that's $308. Was that the total phone bill?
No, then I received one in mid-April for $31 in long distance, $87 in collect calls, and...
Was the boyfriend making collect calls to you?
No, he always called me direct.
So nobody called you collect?
No.
Is this have the number of the...
Yes, it does.
Is it the same number that she
No,
called?
ma'am, it's not. It's a Fresno number. And I asked Clarissa, have you been accepting collect calls from this number? And she says, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. And I have here $85 in collect calls.
Well, she says she doesn't know whose those are, but it really doesn't make any difference.
They're not mine.
Let's say they're Clarissa's. Why should her parents be responsible for that?
Because she's a minor.
No, you're responsible for it. And I'm going to tell you why you're responsible for it. Because you have a mechanism where you can put on your phone a block so that you can't make long-distance calls.
I've never had a need for that.
Well, of course
I
you've
make long distance occasionally.
Let me explain something to you. Your business arrangement was never with Clarissa's parents. Your business arrangement was with Clarissa. And if you want to ensure that things in your house are not abused, you have to take steps to do that. Her parents can't come into your house and do that. You have to do that. They are not responsible for the long-distance call made by their daughter in your house. You're responsible. You have to be prudent and vigilant. Make sure that the phone isn't used. Put the phone away. Lock up the phone. Disconnect the phone. Do whatever you want to do with it. But there is no way that you are going to hold the Thompsons responsible for her calls that she made.
I had
not gonna
discussed
happen.
the agreement with her mother at one time, though, Your Honor.
I don't care whether you discussed an agreement with her mother or not. They're not responsible. You're responsible because they have no ability to see to it that in your house the phone isn't abused. They know how to do it in their house because her mother wouldn't tolerate it. Right?
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You think you're entitled to more money?
Well, yes.
Really? How much do you think she owes you?
Well, see.
Give me an idea.
I say about over 600.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robbie Gibbs says former babysitter 16-year-old Clarissa Thompson ran up her phone bill with long-distance phone calls. Clarissa says Robbie still owes her money.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, he would call her directly when I was there.
So?
So I never had any clue that she was calling him or making
Neither
phone
did her
calls.
mother. Neither did her mother. You want to take care of your phone? Lock it in your drawer. It's not a mother's fault. And you'll know better next time. You hire a babysitter, you take out the phone. Or you put a block on it. You say you can't make long-distance calls. That's it. It's not legally responsible. And I can't find that her parents are responsible because you have the responsibility of ensuring that when you hire a teenage babysitter and you know that they sit on the phone and they can sit on the phone for hours, you make sure that they can't get to your phone. All right. Now, you want to tell me why you think you're entitled to any money back from the money that you paid her for babysitting?
Because she wasn't babysitting. She would go in my room and shut the door and use the phone. I came home on an occasion when that happened.
When was the first time you came home and
It
found
was
her?
about 2 weeks before I had her quit babysitting, and I told her she was not welcome at my home anymore. Her mother came down. We talked about it. Her mother assured me that it would not happen again. The following week is when I came home and my son had been burning a popsicle stick.
So? Then you fired her.
And then I fired her. Yes.
So why do you think you're entitled to anything back?
I just put it in there because I thought that I paid her for services that were not rendered.
You should have been more vigilant. If I came home and found my 2 babies weren't being cared for by a babysitter, I would say thank you very much. I'm paying you for the day. You're not welcome back here
Which
anymore.
is what I did.
No.
And then her
you
mother
had a
came down and
conversation
spoke
with
with
her
me.
mother, and her mother assured you it wasn't going to happen again. Come on. Get real. All right. Now let's get to your counterclaim, if you're serious about it. You think you're entitled to more money?
Well, yes.
Really? Why don't you tell me why you think you're entitled to more money?
Well, because I did babysit for the kids, you know, like, because most of the time she was barely in there. She'd send her oldest son to come get me at 6:30 after she got off work, and then she'd be gone all night.
How much do you think she owes you for babysitting?
Well, see...
Give me an idea.
I say about over 600, but
Really? You think over $600?
Yes.
Really? And you babysat for her each and every week?
Yes.
And you accepted the money she gave you, and you didn't say to her, no, you owe me more than $30 a week. I'm not taking the $30. You came back and you babysat for her again, another
Yep.
week, and then another week, and then another week.
She kept promising me, oh, I have to go to the bank. Oh, I haven't got my check yet, or I haven't cashed it. That's what she had kept telling me. So
I'm just going to sit on the phone and talk to my boyfriend. Forget any more money. Chalk it up to the time that you were sitting on the phone in the bedroom, chewing the fat with the boyfriend. You got me?
Yes.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am. I was suing her for punitive damage because, actually, I don't want to do this.
Smart. Smart. It's her responsibility to take care of her phone. It's your daughter's responsibility to do the right thing if she's babysitting. I'm sure that you've had a chat with her about abusing the privilege of somebody else's phone. I have a feeling you have.
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right, Miss Gibb. Next time, you just be a little more careful, madam. That's all.
Please excuse. You may step out.
I was pretty upset.
I'm very sorry for Mrs. Gibbs, and I hope that she get her life together.
She said that she had permission. Her parents said, no, you didn't have permission.
They both played on the telephone.
Let's let teenagers babysit anymore.
Not to babysit for people like her again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peterson versus Thornhill. Step forward, please.
20-year-old college student Serene Peterson is suing her former friend, administrative assistant Jasmine Thornhill, for unauthorized use of her credit card. Jasmine says she had Serene's permission.
Ms. Peterson, the defendant was a good friend of yours. You claim, however, that she stole your credit card and used it without your permission, racking up tremendous bills for which you are responsible. The defendant says she did, in fact, use your credit card. She used it with your permission. You had an arrangement where she would pay the bill, and she was perfectly prepared to honor that arrangement. You knew her for a long time?
Around 6 months.
When do you claim she stole your credit card?
December 15th, I was over her apartment on a social engagement. When I left, I accidentally left my wallet with my credit card inside her apartment.
Go ahead.
2 days later, after searching my belongings, I called her and asked her if she had it. She says that she did, and I went over and I retrieved it the same day.
Your credit card?
Yes.
Go ahead.
After that, everything was fine until I received my statement. That was in mid-January. The statement had some charges, along with the charge that I purchased for Ms. Thornhill while I was at her apartment.
What do you mean the charge that you purchased for her?
When I was over her apartment on the 15th, she asked me if she could use my credit card to purchase something online. I agreed to make the purchase for her.
What did you purchase for her online?
An online thing from Pier 1 for $62.67.
Can I see that bill, please?
Yes.
Now you have certain things highlighted.
Yes, those are all of the charges that Ms. Thornhill made, except for the one on December 5th.
You have one here for December 19th.
Yes, that's correct.
But you got your credit card back on December 17th.
Yes.
You have something on the 18th.
There are a series of charges made after December 15th, extending onto May. I have a complete list. All of the charges I did not make, Ms. Thornhill made.
Let me hear your version of how you got this credit card.
Sure, Your Honor. Prior to December 15th, I had asked Ms. Peterson if I could use her credit card in order to make some online purchases for Christmas and some other purchases as well. She said it was no problem. She would come to my workplace in the next couple of days and she would give me the card so I could go ahead and do that. She came to my workplace as agreed and she left the card in my possession. After that, I proceeded to make a few of the online purchases and I asked her, was it okay if in the coming couple of weeks, if I needed, if I could use it again? And Ms. Peterman's statement to me was, well, hey, I don't have a job right now. You're working full-time. If you want to use it, just make sure you pay the bill. I'll send the statements to you, and we won't have a problem. So I began to use the card under the verbal agreement that we had made. Ms. Peterson got her statement in mid-January. I asked her what the amount was. Was she going to send that to me? She said no, because of the fact that she had made a charge in December herself. She'd go ahead and take care of that payment. She said, but then when the rest of my charges became evident in the February bill, that I would begin to be responsible for it. In February, as agreed, she mailed me the payment, and I have proof of that because I sent in a money order to make that payment.
Your Honor, may I say something, please?
Go ahead.
After Ms. Peterson reviewed that statement, and I sent a copy of it to her, of the statement itself, along with a copy of the money order to her in the mail as proof that I had indeed made that payment. Then came February, and she received a statement, and she was very concerned by the growing balance. I told her, I said, I can understand that, but it just so happens that you and I have a different standard of the way that we live. I understand some of the things I might buy might appear expensive to you, but I'm expecting tax money. I'll definitely use some of that towards lowering the balance, and I will definitely honor our initial agreement. I don't in any way want to...
stick you.
Right, exactly. March came along. That's when Ms. Peterson, I think, she started to get really upset.
Well, just show me the rest of the payments that you made.
That's the only payment that I made successfully.
Why?
That was the only statement that she sent to me.
In February?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you make purchases in March?
Those actually, ma'am, were purchases that I had made in February that were on back order.
Then you cancel them. What are you, nuts?
No, honestly, ma'am, you're right. That's something she certainly could have done.
All right, Ms. Peterson, let me tell you what I think. I think you lied to me when you said she stole your card and you had no knowledge of the fact that she was using your card till you got these statements. Let me tell you why. Because if I got a statement in the month of January that showed unauthorized usage of my card, and since you weren't using the card at all, correct?
Correct.
Then you cut up the card, you call the company immediately, and you say, discontinue this card, I'm canceling this card, no further purchases are authorized. You didn't do that.
I did, Your Honor.
No. If you did that immediately, in January, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Then you are not responsible for these. If you canceled your card, and they continue to allow someone else to use it in an unauthorized way, you are not responsible.
When I called them in December, they told me that they had been trying to contact me because they had red flagged my card because of suspicious behavior. They had also told me that someone called up and got my card reactivated. Numerous times I called them and I canceled my card.
Do you know her mother's maiden name?
No, ma'am.
Do you know her social security number?
I don't know by heart, but I did know it.
Good. Did you ever call to reinstate her card?
No, ma'am.
No. Miss Peterson, what happened is that you let her use your card.
I did not.
Then if these are unauthorized charges on your account and you did not give her permission and you canceled your card, then you are not responsible for these.
That's what I told Bank of... However, they told me, because I told them that I knew who was making the charges, I said, I can direct you to the person who is fraudulently using my card. They said that it's a civil matter now and that I have to bring up the charges against her because they are not going to take them off.
No, that's not true. Call the police. Madam, if what you're telling me is that somebody stole your credit card and used your credit card without your permission, call the police and have her arrested. Simple as that. They're going to arrest her and you won't be out any money. You won't be out any money if what you're telling me is true. What you're telling me is true, correct?
Yes.
Right? You didn't give her permission to use your card.
No.
You're sure of that?
I'm positive.
Then you don't have anything to worry about. Call, have her arrested for grand larceny. You are not responsible for the payments because you did, in fact, cancel your card.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. Then we have nothing to worry about. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Justice.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gomez versus Todd. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Bonnie Gomez is suing her daughter's ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old appliance salesman A.D. Todd, for an unpaid loan for bail. A.D. says he never asked Bonnie for help.
Mrs. Gomez, the defendant was dating your daughter. She was
correct.
17 at the time, and according to your complaint, he got himself arrested, called you, begged you to bail him out of jail. You did. It was a loan, and he hasn't paid you back.
That's correct.
When did he call you and tell you that he had been arrested?
He called me on June 20th, about 10 p.m.
And what did he say to you?
He said that he had gotten himself arrested for a mistaken identity, is what he told me.
He got himself arrested for a mistaken identity?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the last time I looked in the penal law that that was a crime.
Yeah, I didn't either. So he asked if I could bail him out, and his words were, Miss Bonnie, please, I can't stand it here, please bail me out.
Your Honor, she's lying.
Did I ask you anything yet?
No, ma'am.
So I asked him how the bond system worked because I'm not familiar with how jail and stuff works, and he says, well, if you put up the bond, you get the money back. So I spoke to somebody at the bond company, and they said the way it works is that they put up a big bond for him, I pay some, but I don't get it back. They get their money back if he shows up to court. And so I hesitated, and they said, well, we have 2 other bonds out on him, so he's a good risk, he will go to court. And I said, well, let me think about it. And he
Did you know at the time that he had been arrested at least twice before?
No, I did not.
What was he arrested for this time?
Well, what he told me originally was that it was mistaken identity, and after I bailed him out, he told me that his girlfriend, the mother of his baby, had said that he had beat her up. Come to find out later on when I went to get a copy of what he was arrested for, he was arrested for possession with intent to distribute and criminal impersonation.
Drugs?
Drugs, yeah. And I supposedly, from what I understand, impersonating a police officer.
Okay. So you posted his bond?
Yes.
$1,500?
Right.
Did you ever get it back?
No.
Did you ask him for it back?
When I bailed him out of jail that night, I said to him on the telephone before I went to the jail, I said, you know, I need this money back. I'm a single mom raising 5 kids. You know, my health hasn't been very good for a few years. I haven't been able to work. What I have is in my savings, and that's what I'm supporting my kids with. And he says, Miss Bonnie, I have the money. I just have to go get it. As soon as I get you, you know, you come and get me out of jail, we'll go get the money. I said, okay, fine. And I said, would you sign an IOU? And he said, yes, I will. He says, I'll sign whatever. You want to put interest on there, whatever, I'll sign it. So went ahead, went over to the jail, signed him out of jail, wrote a check out for what it cost to get him out, the $1,500. It was about probably 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning at this point. And he says, you know, Miss Bonnie, it's a little late, you know, to go over to my friend's house, so let's just wait till the daytime. And I said, that's fine, you know, because I was pretty tired as well. And come the next morning, you know, a few hours later, I made him sign an IOU, which I can't find now, it disappeared. And he left and haven't seen him since.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bonnie Gomez says her daughter's ex-boyfriend, A.D. Todd, owes for an unpaid loan for bail. A.D. says he never asked Bonnie for help.
Where were you arrested, sir?
At the apartment that I stayed at.
What were you arrested for?
Possession,
Possession of what?
marijuana.
That was at least the third arrest that we know about because you'd been bonded twice before. What were your
Right.
prior arrests?
Harassment and driving without a license.
You don't get arrested for driving without a license, sir, and
Well, in
bonded.
Colorado, if you ain't got your license and insurance, you do go to jail.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but anyways, Your Honor, when I went to jail, I called Mrs. Gomez's daughter. I asked her, would she go and tell my mom to get me out of jail? She said, all right. That's the last time I ever called her house. 2.5, 3 hours later, there was somebody bailing me out. They told me to pack my stuff. You know, I got out. You know, Erica was sitting there, and I didn't know who Miss Gomez was at the time because I never met her. So I signed the bail bondsman papers. Miss Gomez leaves out with us. And we gets to her house, you know, because I stayed like 2-3 blocks away. You know, and I'm talking to her. You know, next thing you know, I goes home that night, and I comes back the next day. And she tells me, well, Mr. Todd, you know that you're going to owe me $1,500 for getting me out. I'm like, you know, shocked. I didn't think I owed her anything. I mean, I didn't ask her to bail me out of jail. She did on her own. I mean, if her daughter did, then that's on them. That's not on me. But I was dating her daughter at the time, you know, and I guess I picked up responsibility and said, okay. You know, so like 2, maybe 3 days later, I had like a really bad necklace, you know.
Like a really bad necklace? What was wrong with it?
No, I mean, I had like,
was
I had
cheap.
a nice, really expensive necklace. It was Pegasus. It was about yay big. And
Probably cost $2 at a flea market.
yeah, it had like 2.5 carats worth of Marquise and Big Ed diamonds in it. I mean, it wasn't like Cuban zirconia. It was retail price of like $15,000. And I gives it to the plaintiff's daughter, and I haven't seen it since then. You know, I never called the house again, and Ms. Gomez never said that I owe her any money. She never brought the subject up to me. You know, everything was all right from what I knew. I say about a month and a half later, me and her daughter still talking. You know, I comes back from the store. It was me and my little brother and my baby's mom. And we gets out of the car, and this white car pulls up. Miss Gomez is in the passenger seat. Then a bunch of little Mexicans get out the car and try to beat me up. You know, taking off their shirts, saying, what's up, Holmes, you know, is this him, is this him? I hear a lady in the background saying, yeah, that's him. You know, so they run up to me, and I'm taking off my jewelry so I can, honestly.
You wouldn't mind showing me that jewelry, would you, sir?
No.
Could I see it up here, please, Bert? Would you get that for me?
You want to see what's on my neck, too?
No, that's what you're going to give Bert is sufficient. Keep talking, Mr. Todd.
Okay.
I'm fascinated.
Okay. But anyways.
No, really, really.
Okay.
No, I don't know. Please don't laugh. I'm fascinated.
Okay, but after the little essays run up on me and try to beat me up, you know, my little brother goes in the house and gets my mom. You know, she gets out of the car. My mom says, you know, what's going on? My mom didn't even know who these people were. Miss Sanchez get out of the car, and she's like, well, your son owes me $1,500. I'm just looking like, I don't owe you a thing, you know. Never once did I get told that I owe you any money. You know, so after that, you know, I never seen Mrs. Gomez again. You know, after I gave her the necklace, it was like, I guess everything was okay.
So what you're saying is you gave her daughter the necklace to pay off this debt? Is
Yeah,
that what
she
you're
could have
telling
took it to any pawn shop.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Todd, usually when you go to court, you get all dressed up?
Yes, ma'am.
Put on your finest, right?
No. It's not my finest.
You have better.
Yes.
Really? Have better clothes?
Yes.
Have better jewelry?
Yes.
Where's your better jewelry?
This is like from way back, before I even moved to Colorado.
I'm talking about this jewelry.
All this stuff is old. I had this stuff for a long time.
Because one would think if you were wearing all this flashy junk that that this would be your best stuff.
No.
Right? No, the best stuff you gave away to her daughter. The one with
It was one of the best.
The $15,000
Yes, ma'am.
piece.
It was one of the best.
Wasn't any junk like this. Wasn't any
No,
glass like this, you
No,
know,
ma'am.
in whatever kind of metal this is.
All right.
Right?
Right.
It was a really good one. Gold
ma'am.
and diamonds and
Yes, ma'am.
and well-cut stones that was worth $15,000. Where did you get $15,000 from?
Family.
From your family?
Yes. My dad had bought the necklace for me at the time.
Really? He must love you very much. Must be very proud of you.
Yeah?
You owe $1,500. Listen, you get yourself arrested
She's nice enough to come at 2 o'clock in the morning, leave her 5 children to come and pick you up, and you're doing a dance? Do me a favor, return this garbage to him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Moss. Step forward, please.
Nanny Gail Martin is suing her former employer, day spa owner Kimberly Moss, for non-payment of services rendered. Kimberly says Gail abused her 10-year-old daughter, Lauren.
Miss Martin, you answered an ad in the paper for child care and light housework that the defendant had placed in the paper. It is your claim that you worked there and you were not fully paid before she let you go.
That's correct.
Okay. The defendant says you were, in fact, fully paid. Are these the 2 children she was supposed to take care of?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you answer the ad and when did you start working?
I answered the ad the first day I noticed it was in there, and there were 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And I started to work on, the first week was October the 10th, and the second week was October the 15th.
Okay, and what was the pay arrangement?
She told me, I told her what I got at my last job, and she said I paid $10 an hour. And after the first week, which was the Friday, but I had to come back Saturday, she only paid me the $300 from the first 3 days.
Well, whatever it was,
it wasn't enough because I had worked that first week.
The first week, how many days did you work?
4 days.
Is that correct?
I really don't remember.
Well, if you don't remember, then I have to rely on her. And the second week you worked, how many days did you work?
I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 3
And
days.
how much were you paid during that 2-week period? Yes, you were.
The whole time I worked there, she paid me $300.
Okay. How much did you pay her?
When she first came to my employment, we agreed that she would get $100 a day. And
Really, not $10 an hour?
No.
$100 a day, irrespective of how many hours she worked?
Right.
First week she worked 4 days, and you gave her how much?
Whatever it was, she
said you only gave her $300.
Well, that's not accurate. Whatever I owed her is what I paid her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nanny Gail Martin says former employer Kimberly Moss owes for babysitting fees. Kimberly says Gail threw her 10-year-old daughter in the shower with her clothes on.
So, what happened the second week?
The second week, she was paid up. On the last day, her car broke down. She asked if she could stay with us overnight for a couple days because she didn't have transportation to and from work. And I said that would be fine until she got her car fixed. The first morning of the night that she stayed over, there was a problem. And what happened was I was in bed. My daughter Chelsea came running to me to wake me up, telling me that Gail had put Lauren, my baby, into the hot shower with her nightgown on. So I got up and ran into her bedroom, and there she was crying, cuddled up in the corner in the hot shower. So I got in the shower with her in my nightgown and blocked the hot water from her and adjusted the temperature, and to try to reduce the trauma of what had already occurred, took a shower with her, got her out, we all got ready for school, took her to school. That is why my secretary drove her home, because if I was to confront her about it, it would have turned out ugly. So I had my secretary relieve her from, that was the last day.
in the shower?
No, ma'am, I would never do that to a child under any circumstances. Never. And if this did happen, how come she didn't call HRS? That's what I'd like to know. When she told me she didn't have the money.
Was in the shower?
The baby, Lauren, was.
Lauren? Come up here. Tell me about the shower.
I was in bed and I didn't want to get up because I didn't feel good, and then she picked me.
You mean get up to go to school?
Yeah. And she picked me up out of the bed and put me in the shower, and she turned the hot water on with my nightgown on.
No question in your mind about that?
Mm-mm.
Where was your sister?
She was in bed with me.
Had that ever happened before?
No.
Okay, go sit down. All right. Ms. Moss, the plaintiff worked for you for 3 days, the second week.
Correct.
Did you pay her?
I do not remember the exact amount of time that she was under our employment.
Fine. Then I have to rely on her records for those days.
That's fine.
That she would. Now, at that point, did you fire her?
That day, absolutely.
That day, she was let go.
Absolutely.
Okay. You say not. Is that right?
No, she explained to me she was going to go to Daytona Beach with her boyfriend, and that her business that she just opened, her Kimberly's Day Spa, they do facials
Whatever.
and massages.
You were
and
told
whatever.
that your services were no longer
Yes,
necessary.
because her business hadn't taken off like she expected it to, and that she couldn't afford it. This child that's wearing that nice little Sunday school outfit, that's not what they wore when I worked there. They dressed shamelessly.
What do you mean shamelessly?
They dressed in little Daisy Dukes with half their butt poking out the bottom, and little things with their belly buttons showing, and trying to go to school like that. They were, and makeup, and they were hellions.
And what about
they were 9 and 11 going on 17.
Go ahead.
I came back on the Monday to collect some money that she owed me from that previous week. Her oldest son was changing the locks on her house door. And I said, well, what happened? He says, don't expect to find any money here. We had a break-in. Our safe was broken into, but I didn't see any black powder anywhere. So he said, we don't have any money to pay you. So why would she have to do that if she paid me the week before?
Okay.
Now,
okay.
Ergo.
Okay. You work there according to your records, and since she doesn't have any records of her own, which she should have, a total of 7 days. I am crediting her testimony that your agreement was $100 a day, and that she paid you, according to your records, which I am crediting, $300, which means she owes you $400, and I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tate versus Enrico. Step forward, please.
Community advocate Valoria Tate is suing her neighbor, Secretary Laura Enrico, for slander and damage caused by her cats.
Miss Tate, it is your claim that the defendant's cats damaged some of your property. The two of you are neighbors and share a common garage and storage area. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And that sometime later, when you tried to remedy this situation yourself, the defendant posted flyers around or passed out flyers in the neighborhood accusing you of trying to poison animals and children.
After her neurotic behavior.
Okay. So how long have the two of you been neighbors and share this common space?
I've lived there 5 years, and I'm not sure. I would say she's been there maybe 2 years.
Year and a half now.
Year and a half. You have 2 cats?
Yes.
Now tell me about this common space that you share.
I have pictures of the common area.
I'd like to see them.
That's supposedly where all of us can use the patio area. And I explained to my neighbor that I'm highly allergic to pets, and I can't go down there and entertain myself or my friends as long as cats are living on our tables.
Go ahead.
So I have several pictures.
Is this the common space that you share?
That's part of it. That's in the garage, and that's my personal space. That table was made for me. It's actually higher than a normal
Just
table.
show me the
Okay.
Just show me the private space that you have for storage. Okay. So tell me how her cats destroyed your property.
Well, it's before they destroyed my literature that I placed in my garage and covered it very well with bags and mothballs. They've already destroyed a couple of plant pots, and used the bathroom in my plant pot.
Did you see that, or did you just
I
assume?
saw that, and when I saw it, I nicely went over to Laura and I told her, "Your cat's potted in my plant and my pot," and she would come over, clean it up and say a few nasty things, but she would clean it up. The second time I did that, she was a little more angrier, and she literally went down to the patio, to the common court area, and she turns around like this. "Some people don't want my cat to, but not poop." Laura has this thing about you can't tell her to clean up behind her own pets because she feels, as she kind of indicated, cats have a right to.
All right, she'll tell me what she feels.
Okay. So therefore, I went to the management. They said they have approached her several times. They pointed out in the CNRs, the rules, that we can only have house pets. In fact, I asked my owner before I moved. I said, I'm highly allergic.
Can I see the house rules, please?
Yeah. I told him, I said, I'm highly allergic to pets. Do they have pets? He says, no, only house pets.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valoria Tate says condo neighbor Laura Enrico owes for property damage caused by her cats. Valoria also claims Laura distributed a slanderous flyer calling her a pet killer.
Well, I've read the rules, and the rules clearly say that no pet is to be in a common area. Dog has to be kept on a leash at all times. Is this a picture of your cat on the table?
I can't see it.
Would you give that to her, please?
It's a black cat.
And is your cat a black cat?
He was, yes.
Now, after certain of your property was destroyed, and in your complaints say that you found that her cat urinated on a box, right? And there was literature in that box.
Yes.
What did you do?
What did I do?
Complaint, you put mothballs around the area.
Oh, the reason I put the mothballs is before I left for the trip, her cats was in my area up on top of my boxes. I have never seen the cats on the boxes before at that time. So I went into the house, I had some mothballs, left the boxes on the boxes so you can see what they were, and I went on my trip.
Okay. You had a confrontation with the defendant and a friend of hers accusing you of trying to poison children and animals.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you said that there were some flyers that were distributed. I'd like to see those.
Your Honor, the flyers were placed on everyone's door in our entire complex. There's 26 units.
Did you place this around?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
You got some nerve. You got some nerve.
I have concern for the animals and the children in the complex.
I want to tell you something. You got some nerve. If you have animals that in any way interfere with your neighbor's peaceful enjoyment of their property, you keep your animals in the house. What right do you have to let your animals outside into common areas, on tables, on chairs? What right do you have to do that? None. And you are so arrogant, as to say the last line here is, if you have a problem with allergies, dislikes, phobias, or such about animals in the building, it might be suggested to move to another building. And you go through this whole grandfather clause because two people had cats that were outside. You say now it's grandfather, so your cats can be outside. If you want to have house pets and you want to let them outside, go buy a house in the woods and let your animals out in the woods where they don't bother anybody. But you live in a condominium complex where there are lots of other people. And it is possible that some adults, some children are afraid of cats. Somebody might want to come and put their lunch on the table, and your cat has just been walking around after walking around in feces, now walks around on the table. That's outrageous. And your reaction is, what? Cats will be cats? I mean, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not, but my cats aren't the only ones in the courtyard. We have a lot of strays that come into the garage and come
That may be. She can't complain about strays. Strays are not your problem. Your problem is your two cats. Because you are an owner or a tenant.
I'm an owner.
As an owner, you should want to do everything that you can to preserve the integrity of your space. What are you laughing about? Are you on medication?
No, I'm not, Your No, I'm not, Your Honor, but the demonstrations of irrationality never occurred. She threatened me. She followed me.
Let me ask you this question. Did you ever check with the management company to find out whether Miss Tate ever had any problems with prior tenants?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Did you ever have problems with prior tenants?
No.
I would say that you probably didn't. You keep your cats in your house because that's what the rules say. Specifically, rules that you gave and you signed for when you bought your condominium specifically said that only these two people, long gone, could have their cats out in the courtyard. You signed it. I assume when you signed it, you read it. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
So why didn't you abide by the rules you signed and read? The rules are your cats stay in your house. Yeah, right. And this is nasty.
Don't like having my animals threatened to be killed.
Well, why don't you keep your animals in your house?
I will from now on.
Perfect. Did we just solve that problem?
Yes, you did, Your Honor.
Fine. She doesn't mention your name in this, does she?
No.
Now, it's very possible that other people knew what she was talking about, but she doesn't mention your name.
May I share with you why she didn't have to?
Go ahead.
Because she made such a big scene about I was trying to kill these cats and children. All the neighbors heard it, and then she called the police. Well, they knew there was only one person she was referring to.
That I can't tell you what they knew.
But
she does not mention your name in this flyer. But certainly, Miss Enrico has agreed at this point, is that right, Miss Enrico? That you will keep your cats in your home from now on.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is
Yes,
that right?
Yes, ma'am.
That seems to solve the problem. I will prepare that order, that's all.
Nancy Anashevska is suing 22-year-old construction worker Ryan Lutz and his friend 21-year-old dairy farmer Corey Henry for damages to her car and for sexually assaulting her 18-year-old daughter Jamie Swanson.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 449 on the calendar in the matter of Anashevska versus Lutz Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Anashevska, you own a car, but your daughter was driving the car?
No, my daughter owned the car.
Your daughter is how old?
16. She worked for 2 years to purchase this car. I own it with
Who was the titled owner of the car?
both of us.
Okay, because she's a minor, she can't own the property.
Right.
That's why you're here. And according to your complaint, these two young men took your daughter's car really almost without her permission or with her coerced permission, according to you. She was in the car. They drove the car recklessly. They blew the engine of the car, and they also sexually abused her and assaulted her while she was in the car. That's what you say.
Yes.
That's what your daughter told you.
Yes. These two guys say, listen, we were at a party. She let us drive the car. We drove the car with her in it around the block a couple of times. Nothing else happened. The car died. They had nothing to do with it. Is that right, gentlemen?
That's correct.
Okay. So since you weren't there and you really don't know what happened, is that a fair statement? That's fair. I just have a few questions for you, then you can sit down. When did this incident happen with your daughter? July 26th. And when had she gone out that day? She'd been at a family reunion until roughly 10-ish. Don't look at her, look at me. Roughly 10 when she was... 10 p.m.? Correct. So she was at a family reunion with you all day? No, with her father. Okay. We're divorced. So you really don't know anything that happened that day? It's just from her. Just for my purposes, I'm going to get what she told you. She told you she got a call. She was at a reunion with her father until 10 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Then she got a call from some people and she left. Correct. And did she tell you where she went? To be a sober driver for this party. Now you can sit down. Step up. Tell me your first name.
Jamie.
Ryan,
How old are you, Ryan?
22. Corey, 21.
What time had you arrived at this party?
Around 7 o'clock.
How many people were there?
Probably 10, 12.
And whose house was it at?
Friends, Mike.
What time did you see her at the party?
It's been 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Is that right?
No, it was later than that.
How late?
It was around 10:30.
What were you doing at the party?
Anna, a friend of mine from high school, had called me and she was drinking.
Called you where?
On my cell phone. I was on my way back home and asked me to drive her because she had been drinking.
So you arrived at this party. Had you known about the party that day?
No.
You had no idea that there was a party at Mike's house?
Exactly.
Did you know Mike?
From school, yes.
So you knew him?
Yes.
Had you ever been to his house before?
No.
So you got there at 10:30, and what did you do?
I drove some people home. I drove some people to Quick Trip.
You drove some people home?
Yes.
Who did you drive home?
Anna and Sarah.
About how far was it to drive them home from Mike's house?
It was probably a 10-minute drive.
And what did you do after you dropped them off?
Well, we went to her house and were there for
Who's
Anna's house, sorry.
You went to Anna's house, just the three of you?
Right. And we were there for about a half an hour. Her mother asked if she had driven. She said no, I was the sober driver, and I talked to her mother, and then she decided she wanted to go back to the party, so I took her back.
That was pretty stupid.
Yes, it was.
So you took her back to the party. Where was her mother when you decided to take her back to the party?
She went to sleep.
So, Jamie, I'm not stupid. Maybe your mother's willing to believe all this nonsense that you told her. I'm not. Because if you went to pick up your friend because you wanted to be a good Samaritan, and your friend had been drinking, and you took her home, then you say, so your mother is saying, you're a very responsible young lady. But a very responsible young lady doesn't say, okay, then I'm going to take you back to the party so we could all party.
I had no intention of letting that happen.
Then you go home. You don't drive back another 10 minutes to take her to a party. Now, when you took her back to the party, what was your intention?
Everyone seemed like they were staying there, so I wasn't needed anymore.
What do you mean you weren't needed anymore? You went to pick her up because she had been drinking too much to drive home. You take her home. She decides to go back to the party to drink some more, so you decide that she doesn't need you anymore, and you were leaving.
My main goal was that nobody drove drunk that night.
Then you shouldn't have taken her back. I'm telling you, madam, your mother may believe this nonsense that you told her. I don't. If your main goal was that nobody should be drunk and driving, then you leave your friend at home, at her home, and you say, I'm going home now. So then you drive her back to the party, along with the other girl, I assume.
Yes.
And then you were leaving.
Yes.
So what happened?
As I was walking out, they stopped me, Corey and Ryan, and wanted to drive my car. I said no, I was tired. I worked in the morning. I wanted to get home, but they insisted that they at least see it. So as they walked me to my car, they kept pressuring me into letting them drive it, and finally I decided it would just be easier to let them. I didn't want them to not like me. I felt kind of peer pressured, and so I let Ryan drive the car, and as I went to get into the passenger seat, Corey then got in first and pulled me onto his lap, and Ryan started driving very fast into these country roads. And they began fishtailing around gravel road corners, doing 93 miles an hour and screaming that the car would only go 93 miles an hour. And while they were doing this, I kept asking them to slow down or stop, and they wouldn't.
And
as we went back into town, the car started making some funny noises, and they told me it was a belt and it would probably just straighten out. And I was worried. I knew that wasn't right, but I was tired and I felt really violated, and I just wanted to get home.
Why did you feel violated?
Because while Ryan was totaling my car, Corey continued to try to grope my breasts and to get his hands in my pants, and I kept trying to have to fight him off, and he wouldn't stop.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She kind of started making moves at me and Ryan.
I want you to show me with Ryan. Ryan's next to you. How she rubbed up against you, sir?
Kind of like this, and then, kind of back and forth, and sitting on my lap. She was rubbing my leg and stuff like that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Jamie Swanson claims former friends Ryan Lutz and Corey Henry damaged her car during a party. Jamie also says Corey sexually assaulted her.
What time did you get back?
It was about 12:31.
Well, let me figure this timeline out. 10:30 you arrived at the party. You picked up your friend and her friend. You drove her home. 10 minutes. Let's say that's 11:15. According to you, you stayed at Anna's house for a half hour. That's 11:15. Then she wanted to go back to the party. You got her back to the party. That's 11:30. Now it's 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I'm missing an hour and a half. What happened in that hour and a half?
There were people there that wanted things from the Quick Trip in the gas station in Iota. So I took a list of what everyone wanted and went down and got it for them. I just made sure nobody drove. That was...
Oh, Jamie, that's such a crock. You made excuses to your mother because the car got totaled. I don't believe that you went there and then you took lists of things of people that wanted, and you went grocery shopping for everybody. I mean, I don't understand that.
I had a friend who was killed by a drunk driver, and ever since then, I don't want anyone driving.
Jamie, if you don't want anyone driving, then you drove your friend Anna home, and you leave her there. You don't take her back to the party.
Can I say something?
No, you weren't there. You believe this story?
I have a letter from someone that saw her.
You believe that, saw her do what?
That saw her at the Quick Trip with the other kids intoxicated.
What does that have to do with, I believe she went there. I believe she was part of this party. Whether it's because she wanted to be accepted or whether she wanted to be part of the group, she went to the party. And you believe this story that she took her friend back to the party because if she didn't take her back, somebody else would have? You believe that?
I don't think it was a smart thing to do, but I believe her, yeah.
Then you'd be responsible for your own car. Take off the blinders. I'm not finished with you. We haven't even started yet. Who was driving?
I was.
Why?
I just wanted to take the car for a ride.
Why?
Just never drove that kind of car, and I guess we just wanted to go for a ride around the block.
You had been drinking.
Had probably 2 beers.
I don't care what you say you had. If you got there at 7 o'clock,
Yes.
by 10:30 or 11 o'clock, you had more than 2 beers, young man. Now, you decide you want to take the car out for a spin. Is that what you say to her? Can I take your car for a ride?
Yes.
And what did she say?
She gave me the keys, and we all hopped in the car and we went around the block.
No. I want you to take it step by step, Ryan. Let's do a step by step. You had the keys in your hand.
Yes.
You got into the car.
Yes.
What happened next?
And we got in. I got in, started up the car. Corey got in. She got in and got on his lap.
Why did she get on your lap, sir?
I got in and she wanted to come along, and it's just a 2-seater car, no bench seat.
Oh, it's just a 2-seater.
Yeah, so I'm cramped up.
There's no back seat?
No, it does have it's just bucket seats, but it's got a back seat also, yes.
So she wanted to come along, she didn't want to sit in the back?
I guess.
How much had you been drinking that night?
About probably 3-4 beers.
And what about the plaintiff? Did you see her drink anything?
I did not see her, but I did not get there until 11 o'clock.
Okay. Where were you up until 11 o'clock?
I was working until 9, and then a friend come and pick me up.
All right, well, that's not... You're working until 9. Where were you between 9 and 11?
We stopped in Dover and talked to a couple people, and then we went to another place, and then we arrived out there.
So you went to a couple of parties first?
Yes.
See how I made that simple for you?
Yes.
You know, sometimes young people think that older people, not old people, but older people, they have this lapse and they were just born old. It's really not true. Bird remembers what happens when he was young. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
So she got on your lap.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then we proceeded to leave, and as we were going out of town, she kind of started making moves at me and Ryan. And
how did she make moves at you and Ryan? Now, I want you to be very careful, because, you know, I'm really good at this. You know.
Started rubbing
keep me
up
here because I'm gorgeous. They keep me here because I'm really good at it.
She started rubbing up against me. And, you know,
how did she do that? You know what I want you to do? I want you to show me with Ryan. Ryan's next to you. How she rubbed up against you, sir. I want you to show me that.
She was kind of like this, and then kind of, you know, rubbing on my shoulder.
I want to see.
Going like this and rubbing my arm and leg. And
she was rubbing your arm?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Well, she must have had her arm around your arm. Is that right?
Correct.
Show me how she had her arm around.
Kind of like this, and then, you know, kind of back and forth, and sitting on my lap. You know, she was rubbing my leg and stuff like that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And, you know, I said no, I didn't want nothing to do with it. I didn't know her.
Just a second. Shh, please. Please. You said, I don't want nothing to do with that.
That is correct.
And what did she say to you?
She didn't say nothing.
Did she stop?
Yes, she did.
How fast were you driving?
60, 65, 70 maybe. I don't know. I couldn't see the speedometer.
Fast?
Not out of...
60, 65, and 70. You weren't on a highway, were you?
There was...
You weren't on a highway the entire way, were you?
No, not the entire way.
What happened when you got back to the party?
After we got out, I realized that we were kind of blocking this neighbor's driveway, and I'd mentioned that to Ryan, and he proceeded to get back in the car, and they wouldn't start. And after that, we popped the hood to see if we could see what was going on or try and get it started, and we couldn't do that.
So now the car doesn't start. You had the car towed, is that right?
Yes.
Now, at what point, Jamie, did you call the police and tell them that you had been sexually assaulted by
Corey?
The next day after it happened.
Can I see the police report, please? What time did you get home that night, Jamie?
It was about 1:30, 2 a.m.
Who took you home?
Anna.
So, Anna, your drunken friend took you home, is that right?
Right.
Who was home?
Nobody was. My neighbor was staying with me.
So nobody's home. Where was your mother?
She went to her husband's house. He had to live in Sioux City, Iowa because of his visa. He's from Poland.
So instead of staying with your father where you had some supervision, you decided to stay in your own house where you had no supervision. Is that right?
My neighbor was staying with me.
Your neighbor wasn't supervising you, madam. You were out until 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock. What kind of supervision is that?
Not very good.
You were having a party. Now, at what point did you find out that your car wasn't start, that the engine had blown on your car?
The day after I had it towed, the mechanic looked at it.
You had it towed?
Yes.
The next day?
Yes.
What time?
It was probably about 3 or 4-ish.
When did you find out that the car wouldn't start that day, on the 27th of July? Did you go back there in the morning?
I went back there, yes.
What time in the morning?
What was it? 9.
And at that time, it wouldn't start?
Right.
Right? Okay. And did you call the mechanic?
Yes.
And told the mechanic, please come and tow the car? Or he said to you he would come and tow the car?
It was a different towing service. It
Yeah.
was AAA. So they towed the car. The mechanic.
What time?
3 or 4 in the afternoon.
And you waited at the house all that time?
I waited at the car.
At the car?
Yes.
Well, the car was at the house.
Yes.
You waited in the car or at the house?
I waited in the car. I was in the house for a brief moment.
So you were in the house too?
Yes.
Who was in the house?
Ryan and Aaron were there, and Jared was there, and Mike.
What time did you go to the police station?
7-ish.
In the evening?
Yes.
See what I mean? You always get yourself tripped up, honey.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry? I'm going to tell you, you're sorry. It's very easy. If you have been sexually assaulted, you don't hang around with the guys who were responsible, at least one of them who was responsible for your being sexually assaulted for a whole day, and then go to the police station in the evening to report it.
I was very, very upset after it happened, and
then you go to the police station right away. You don't wait until after you find out that your car's got a blown engine and then start looking for a story. When the police asked you if you wanted to file charges with regard to the sex assault, what did you tell them?
I told them I didn't know yet. My mom was trying to make an arrangement so that I wouldn't have to deal with any of it because I was really emotional at the time.
No, this is what you told the police. You told the police that you didn't know whether you wanted to file charges or not because your mother had already contacted the 2 suspects' parents, and if they pay for the damage done to the motor, they won't file charges.
She was looking into my best interest so that I wouldn't have to see them again.
You saw them. You spent the day with them the next day.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Corey, what's your last name?
Henry.
Case is dismissed as relates to Corey Henry. Sit down. I don't believe a word of what you say about being sexually assaulted by this young man. But I do believe that you took a car, and I do believe that you drove it recklessly, and I believe that you took it with her permission. So that means that both of you were responsible for what happened to the car. You're responsible and you're responsible. Now let me see the bill for the damage.
Now, this is case number 287 on the calendar in the matter of Ortiz versus Palacios. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. Ortiz, you and the defendant have 3 children together, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You say she owes you some money. Ms. Palacios says she doesn't owe you anything. As a matter of fact, she believes that you should give her some money for medical bills for the birth of one of your children, as well as some personal property. Is that right?
Yes.
How old are these children?
The other one is 4 years. That's a boy. The other one is 3 years, and my baby boy is about 9 months.
And where do these children live?
Currently, they live with the mother.
Is that right?
Yes.
And who do you live with?
With my parents.
How long have you been together with Mr. Ortiz?
We were together for almost 5 years.
During that time that you lived together?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
When did you go back to live with your mother?
On May 28th, 2002.
And since you've been living with your mother, how much child support has Mr. Ortiz paid you?
Nothing.
Why?
Because she had failed to the child support agency to submit all the financial statement. Nothing had been settled to the child support
I don't care whether it's
agency.
been settled. What do you think? The kids don't eat between May and settlement date? They don't have doctors? They don't have clothes? What do you mean, no?
I mean, I do think that the children, they eat and they need stuff.
Why didn't you give her any money?
Because I don't have a job, Your Honor.
You have 3 children and no job?
That's true.
Really? Something wrong with you?
Yes.
What?
I got hurt at work on June 19 and got surgery on July 27, and since then I've been TTD.
What's TTD?
Total temporarily disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Problems with my back.
And you just had these problems with your back since a month after she left?
No, that's incorrect.
Well, how long have you had problems with your back?
Over a year.
Over a year?
Mm-hmm.
Who supports you?
Nobody.
Who feeds you?
Nobody.
You mean you haven't eaten in a year? Mr. Ortiz, who supports you?
The only sort of income I was receiving was a work compensation.
How much?
This month I started receiving $210 for permanent disability.
Who do you live with?
Nobody.
Do you have your own apartment?
Yes, I do.
You pay rent?
No, I don't pay rent.
Who pays your rent?
Nobody, because I own the place.
You own what place?
The apartment.
When did you buy the apartment?
On the year 1999.
While you were still together?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $70,000.
You have a mortgage?
Yes, I do.
Who pays the mortgage?
I'm responsible to pay it.
Mr. Ortiz, you understand where I'm going, sir? You're suing her because you wanted to pay for the cost of a trip. Reimbursement for some of a Disneyland trip that you took with her. Who went on the trip? The 2 of you. Who else?
Or family.
The whole family?
Yes.
When did you go on the trip?
On September last year.
Was that shortly before or after you became disabled?
I was already disabled by then.
Then you shouldn't have gone on a trip to Disneyland. If you had no money, you don't go on a trip to Disneyland and expect her to pay half. She's got 3 children. You haven't paid her a dime since May. What, are you crazy? You think I'm going to give you any money? Shh, quiet! You think I'm going to give you any money? Man goes on disability. You're not too disabled to go to Disneyland. Spend a fortune in Disneyland when you're not working because you're disabled, because you have a back problem. And you expect me to order her to pay you for half of the trip to Disneyland? Hello? Then you want to be reimbursed for car insurance. You want to tell me about the car insurance?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Last year, I referred her where she's currently employed. I put the word in for her, that way she can get hired. And then she didn't have a way to transportation. And then she said that she wanted to use my vehicle. And she promised me that she was going to pay for the maintenance and the car insurance for this vehicle.
I'm not even asking her that question. You mean because you were unemployed, because you're disabled, because you have a bad back that only lets you go to Disneyland. She went and got a job. She needed a car to go to the job. You're living as a family with your 3 children. She drove your car, so you wanted to pay your insurance. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Hello?
What I'm telling you is that she promised that she was...
I don't care. I don't believe it. I'm not even going to ask her. I don't care. You made 3 children. You made a promise, morally, to support them. You haven't done it. For a long time, you haven't done it. What?
We split up on May. They spent 16 days with me, those children, on the month of June. The child support is to be retroactive as of June. Since then, I've been working with the child support agency, and I'm just waiting to pay all my...
Listen to me, sir. Because you're waiting for the child support agency to tell you how much to pay doesn't mean that you don't give her money for the children. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Good. You're living in your condo, paying the mortgage. She's living with her parents, who did not bargain to have 3, 4 little kids home with them because the 2 of you split up. She can't afford to live in her own place. Are you working?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
Right now I'm a shift supervisor.
How many hours a day do you work?
Normally, a day I work 7.5.
And who takes care of your children?
My mother and my sister.
What about him? He doesn't do anything. Why didn't he babysit for the children during the day?
Because he was very abusive. That's why we got to court.
Well, he's very abusive that I wouldn't let him take care of a goldfish. In any event, Mr. Ortiz, you get no money from her. Nothing. You have to have a good moral character. First of all, you live together with her as a family, despite the fact that you chose not to get married. Why, I will never know. If you made 3 children, is there any reason why you didn't get married?
Yes, Your Honor, there's a big
What is
reason.
that?
It's a long story from the very beginning. When she got pregnant, she was not living with me. You know, we were having an affair together.
Why don't you tell me why you didn't get married after your 2nd child was born?
Because that was the reason. She was not living with me when she got pregnant with the 2nd child.
What about with the 3rd one?
With the 3rd one, because she wanted an abortion, she never wanted to do nothing with me.
So you mean you asked her to marry you and she said no?
I never asked her to marry me.
You wanted her to ask you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My dear Mr. Ortiz, Bird didn't make your 5 children. You made your 5 children. If you can't afford to support 5 children, you don't make 5 children. Period.
And later today,
Miss Brooks says there was a terrible
storm.
And when she came down to check on
the dog,
she also checked on the
equipment.
And she doesn't know anything about anything.
Correct.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Ortiz says his ex-girlfriend, Mary Palacios, owes for the cost of a trip to Disneyland. Mary says Jose doesn't pay child support for their 3 kids.
What do you want? Medical bills?
Yeah, at least half of the medical bills and reimbursement for everything he kept. Because when I left him with only what I had and a few change of clothes for my children.
Tell me why.
Because I was already afraid of him, and I had it already. I got fed up. And when I asked him that I wanted the rest of my clothing, he told me that it was his property, that I had no right going back to his property. So I never went back. Only one time I went back with 2 sheriffs who escorted me in order to keep the peace. The only thing I ended up getting out of there as well was a few more changes of clothes, but I didn't get all of them. He kept the majority of them. But I left
of
him
your
because,
clothes?
Yeah, my clothing. And I've seen
Where's
him
her
wear a
clothing?
few of my pants.
The only thing I have is this that she left on my card. That's it.
I'm sorry, that is a lie.
Just a second. Now tell me about the furniture. Did you keep all the furniture?
Yes, I do have all the furniture, Your Honor.
Who purchased it?
I did, Your Honor.
And what about her?
She didn't purchase nothing.
What was she doing?
Just home.
She was home taken care of?
The children, she didn't want to work. She put many excuses. Who's going to pay babysitting? I'll probably get the minimum wage. And then whatever I will be making, I will be spending on child care. That's what she told me.
And?
And she never wanted to work.
Okay. Listen to me very carefully, madam. You have no claim for furniture unless you can demonstrate to me that you paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 2 of you were not married for whatever reason. When you're not married, there is no court that's going to say that we're going to equitably distribute this property. And as far as the medical bills for the birth of one of the children, your family court action that settles the issue of support should also settle the issue of medical bills, because he is required by law, once paternity is established, to go back and pay, in addition to his child support, the birthing costs of the children. Do you understand that?
When we went to family law, I went to child support services, and I asked them if there's somehow that they can make him pay for the rest of this, because I've already paid for like half of it.
Let me see it. And they said what?
They told me what I needed was a court order stating that he is...
the father?
Actually saying that he does have to pay half of it.
Your Honor, she's claiming 2 bills. I have paid the one for Brea. The other one is from an abortion that she had in the year 2000.
Is that true?
I've never had an abortion. Now, when we went to family law, he also signed his own stipulation saying that he would agree to pay half of it.
Oh, he did?
Yes. Only I didn't sign it because what he wanted me to agree on was joint custody, and that I didn't think was right because they needed to be somewhere where, a stable home, not just
Well,
jumping.
nobody's going to give him custody of the children if you say he's abusive, and you can establish that.
Your Honor, I have joint custody, physical and legally, with my child.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Show
Not
me.
anymore.
I don't have the court order with me, but I do have joint custody, physical and legal, with my child.
Well, when are the children with you, sir?
They were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That way she can have the weekend.
Is that right?
No, it's going to change now because he was found to be mentally unstable in family law, and also that it was founded that he was very controlling and abusive in our relationship. And now what he's going to get from now on is supervised visitation, Saturdays from 10 to 2, Sundays 10 to 2, and it has to be supervised.
Is that correct, sir? I
did
just want to know what the current order is. Is it for supervised visitation, or is it 4 days a week?
It's current until the order kick in.
When was the last time you saw your children, sir?
Last week.
When did you see them?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And they stayed at your house?
Correct.
Do you have a copy of this order
It's
for
not
supervised?
in yet because it just went through October 10th, and it's not in yet.
Was he present?
Yes, he was.
Were you present when the court issued a ruling?
No, the ruling that the judge made it on the 11th this month. And I was on court hearing on the 10th because I want custody of my child that she's been abusing so much.
All right. When are they supposed to give you an order with regard to the child support?
I have an appointment October 28th to determine who's going to have to pay and how much.
Okay, fine. So I'm not making
Your
any
Honor, I
order.
have a court hearing yesterday for one of my childs, and my child support with my daughter was dropped to 0 because I can afford the payments. Also, I've been using my credit card to pay for some of the stuff that my child needs.
Sir, I would suggest that what you do is you find another way of making a living. Did you walk into the courtroom today?
Yes, I
did. You walk into the courtroom today?
Yes, I did.
Have you been standing there for 20 minutes?
Yes, I do.
You haven't been using crutches or a cane. You've been standing there. You're going to turn around and walk out? And you're speaking, is that right?
Yes, that's
Then what you have to do is to find a job, sir, that doesn't require the use of your back if your back hurts you. You have to find another way of earning a living.
I just got my license permits from the California. I'm
For
going
what?
to start to sell computers. I haven't even started my business. I have my permit, my state.
So you're going to start a business?
I'm going to start my own business, yes, Your Honor.
Good. You mean instead of getting a job so
Yes,
that she
Your
can
Honor,
attach your
because
salary? Are these the only 3 children that you have?
I have 5 children, Your Honor.
Where are your other 2 children, sir?
The other one is over there on the same town where I live. One of them is right here on LA.
How old are they?
The oldest one is 10 years old. The other one is 8 years old.
You send their mother's child support?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was the last time you sent money for those 2 children?
On my last paycheck that I got.
Which was when?
I believe it was like on the 15th.
Of what?
Of this month.
You told me you didn't get a paycheck. You told me you haven't been working in a year.
Yes, Your Honor, but my sole income is the permanent disability that I'm collecting right now, and they basing my child support on that. And then she's expecting me to pay child support too on top of supporting my other 2 children.
Listen, my dear Mr. Ortiz, Bird didn't make your 5 children. These 2 gentlemen didn't make your 5 children. You made your 5 children. If you can't afford to support 5 children, you don't make 5 children. Period. End of discussion. He supports his children. I support my children. We don't want to support your children. And if you can't support 5, you don't have 5. You have 1.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Ortiz says his ex-girlfriend, Mary Palacios, owes for the cost of a trip to Disneyland. Mary says Jose doesn't pay child support for their 3 kids.
Mr. Ortiz, you get 0 from this lady. And madam, start life afresh. You have 4 children. Hopefully you can get some child support from him because you are not blameless in this whole thing either.
Yeah.
You know, you had 1 child, then you had 3 more with him. Bum, bada bum, bada bum, right? You're not married. How old are you?
25.
25. Not smart. Not smart. You have certain responsibility.
Yes, I know.
So, and you brought your troubles home to your mother because she didn't anticipate having to start rearing children now, I'm sure, at her stage in life.
That's true.
What you have to do is you have to realize you made a mistake, put a period, and move on. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. Goodbye, folks.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He can't control me anymore. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Then with you, because you just have money, you don't have money to throw your way.
I was always too afraid to have him arrested because he always told me if I did have him arrested, he'd bring me down with him.
She put me like a boogeyman.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Moore versus Muhammad. Step forward, please.
Pharmacy technician Tracy Moore is suing her ex-boyfriend, private detective Busharat Muhammad, for an unpaid loan to get his car out of the shop. Busharat is countersuing for medical bills as the result of Tracy's harassment.
Miss Moore, you claim a loan, a small one, of $200 to the defendant who at some point was a boyfriend of yours.
Yes.
Mr. Mohammed says there was never a loan. You did, in fact, give him $200, which is the amount you're suing for, but that was for work that he was doing for you in his capacity as a private investigator. Mr. Mohammed has filed a counterclaim alleging that because you harassed him for this $200 over a long period of time, he developed an ulcer, and he would like you to pay some $2,000 for his medical bills. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet him, and when did you give him the $200?
I met him at the end of July in 2002. I loaned him the $200 on September 2nd in the agreement that he was going to pay me back.
September 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you start to date him? Were you dating him in July and August?
You could say that, yes.
What do you mean? I don't want to say that. I want to know if you want to say that.
Sorry. It was more of he tried starting to take control of me and was making me call him all the time, and so I guess he was claiming me as his girlfriend, yes.
I don't know what that means.
Your Honor, she's lying. That's why she can't even tell the court straight what's going on.
I'm going to get to you in a second. Did you go out to dinner together?
No, ma'am.
Did you go to a movie together?
No, ma'am.
Did you go visit a park together?
No, he was always...
A zoo?
No.
Shh, I don't want to hear anything. Did he come to your house?
Yes.
For dinner?
No, ma'am.
Did you have an intimate relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about this $200 in September.
He asked me to loan him $200 so he can get his car out of a shop.
Tell me where you were when you had this discussion.
In my apartment.
And exactly what did he say to you?
He asked me if he could borrow the $200 so he can get his car out of the shop and that he would pay me back within 2 days when he got his money.
And then he took me to the bank to cash my check, and that's when I gave him the $200.
And what happened on September 2nd? After that, you didn't see him anymore?
He didn't come over, and I would try and call him, and he told me to stop harassing him, and he would hang up on me.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Mohammed, let me hear you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, Your Honor, we never dated. We had a friendship, but we never dated. That's why she couldn't get it straight. I never told her my car was in the shop. She came to me. She said that her mother was trying to...
Just a second. She came to you where?
Well, we were at her house talking.
So you were at her house?
Exactly.
She didn't come to you?
No, we were at her house.
You went to her house?
I went to her house to visit her.
Go ahead.
And she said that her mother was her mother was really upset. And I said, about what? And she said, well, because she is trying to get money from her ex-husband, trying to garnish his wages. I said, well, I did investigation part-time before. If you want me to try to help you, I can save her a lot of money by taking her down to the court places where you could buy the paperwork, show her how to fill the paperwork out. She could do it herself.
You were going to take her to the courthouse?
No.
Where?
I have a client of mine that owns a store where he sells paper, you know, the package to show you how to file on landlord disputes and certain things, small things, individual.
So you were going to take her to the store?
Yes, ma'am.
And get her the right set of forms?
Exactly.
Go ahead.
And she said, yes. She said, well, I told her, well, for a flat fee of $200, I would do that. Ms. Moore said, I'll give it to him when I get my check in the mail.
Okay, so that's what you say it was for. You took her to the bank, she gave you the $200.
Exactly.
And that was on what date, sir?
That was around September the 7th or 8th.
Okay. Now, when did you take her mother to the store?
I never did.
You never did?
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you were supposed to do, according to your answer, Mr. Mohammed, for the $200.
Exactly.
So you didn't do what you had said you were going to do?
No, ma'am. I didn't.
Why not?
Because I tried to contact her mother 3 days in a row. In fact, after I got the money the next day, I called her. I said, look, we need to try to get down there and take her to the stationery store.
Okay, so you didn't get together with the mother, so keep going.
So she called me about 2 days later and said, I want the money back.
Right.
I said, I don't have it right now. I said, my thing was to help your mother. She said, well, I need the money. She said, because I got to pay bills and feed my children. I said, well, I don't have it right now. She said, well, you better get it.
You're a hustler.
I'm a hustler.
You're a hustler.
I'm about as much hustler
You're a
as you
hustler.
are.
You're a hustler, Mr. Mohammed. Let me tell you why you're a hustler. Because I read your answer very carefully. Let's understand what you've just testified to before I get to it. You said to me that this was not a loan.
Right.
This had nothing to do with your car.
Exactly.
You said to... Don't agree with me, sir. You said to me that you were having a discussion with her. She said her mother needed to do some work to get some alimony or support from her ex-husband. You had a friend who had a stationery store. You were going to take her mother down there and make sure she got the right forms. That's not something that costs $200.
No,
let me finish. I'm finishing now, but that's what you were going to do. And then, for one reason or another, within a day or two, you realized that this wasn't going to come about. You weren't going to take her mother down to get the forms, and therefore you had done nothing so far. Nothing for that $200. Now let me read from your answer, sir. In August, she hired me to do some investigating on her mother's ex-husband. I made them a deal that I would do the work for a flat fee of $200 up front. I got started on the case. What case? Going to your friend's store? In any case, I started the work, and the few days I put in on the case are worth more than $200. That's what you swore to. You did nothing. Nothing. So, why didn't you give it back to her?
Because she had people coming over to where I live at, threatening me on the phone.
Why didn't you just give her back the $200 or say to her,
because she
I'm
never
sorry,
said,
Miss Moore, I shouldn't have spent it before I did anything, but I
told her
spent
that.
it.
I told her that.
Did you tell her you would give it back to her?
I did tell her that.
Did you tell her when?
I told her to give me a couple of weeks.
So why, Mr. Mohammed, did you swear to, in your statement to me, that you had already done work on the case? Why didn't you just say, I told her that I would give her back her money, just give me 2 weeks, I didn't have it. Why didn't you write that in your answer?
Because I did tell her that. I did tell her I would give her the money back.
You didn't tell that to me.
Even though I initially had started, even though I contacted her 3 days in a row to contact her mother. I even met with her mother. Her mother came by and I talked to her mother.
You getting the whole thing?
I went to her house and talked to her mother.
You're getting the whole thing, right? All right, let's get to your counterclaim. So she bothered you. She called you 50 times a day.
No, she's sending
and you got
people
an
over to
ulcer.
my house threatening me with
And?
terroristic threats, physical violence.
And that gave
That's
you an
not
ulcer.
how you go about getting your
That
money.
gave you an ulcer?
Well, what gave me ulcer was deciding, well, should I kill these people for threatening me over $200, or should I try? Because people don't understand. Little small things start great wars. And these people were threatening me with physical violence about $200. I'm not no punk or pushover. So if they got to bring a life to take a life, my point is that they come to take my life, I'm going to take theirs, even if it's about $200.
Good. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This is case number 318 on the calendar in the matter of Purdue versus Higgins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Purdue.
Good morning.
Good morning. According to your complaint, sir, you gave the defendant rings pursuant to a relationship that the two of you were in.
Yes.
And she was living with you for a brief period of time. And you claimed that there was a promise that if the relationship did not turn out, she would give you the rings back. You claimed that the relationship did not work out, she left, and you don't have the rings.
Yes, ma'am.
The second part of your lawsuit is a claim for a small loan. I think it was $40-some-odd, in order to permit her to get a restraining order against a boyfriend of hers who was supposed to be an abusive boyfriend,
Yes, ma'am.
who she subsequently went back to.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want that money back.
Yes.
And Miss Higgins says that she did not have a relationship with you, that she was really nothing more than a housekeeper for you, a housekeeper/companion, that the rings were a gift. However, when you said you wanted them back, she went over to your house and threw them in your yard. Is that
Yes,
right?
Your Honor.
How long have you known her, Mr. Purdue?
Approximately 9 months.
Where did you meet her?
Met her in a bar. She was my buddy's girlfriend at the time. I met her. And before the night was over, she was sucking my fingers and everything, wanting to...
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Listen to me. I don't want you to get into anything that I don't have to hear
Well,
in order to make this lawsuit. Do you understand? There are certain things that I don't have to hear graphically. She was making advances towards you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Within a week, she broke up with this guy, and she called me and wanted me to move her out of there and move her into my house.
How did she get your home telephone number?
I was more than anxious. I mean, I was a willing party at the time.
Okay,
You
go
know,
ahead.
I was impressed with her, and she was a hot number in my book. But within a week, she'd moved into my house. I tried to, lead a normal life and everything, but she just didn't have it in her. 3 days or so, and she'd be gone all night. Then she'd come back in the morning, smelling like a billy goat, and I'd kick her out, and then the telephone calls would come back again, and we're back in another relationship again. This girl needs help. She doesn't have a job.
No, she doesn't need help. You need help.
Yeah, okay, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Tell me about the rings, sir.
Okay, I'd bought the rings in 1987 for my
what?
wife,
Mm-hmm.
and she's deceased of 3 years. And because Liz always identified so much, she told me, she says, I feel so close to your wife and everything. I know. Yes, I give her rings. And I told her at the time I gave them to her, because we had such a rocky relationship, we've been together and kicked her out several times. I've had the police drag her out from the door. Anyway, when I gave them to her, I says, because these rings mean so much to me, if this doesn't work out, I have to have the rings back. She agreed. We were engaged 3 days.
You mean when you gave her the rings, you thought that they were given as an engagement?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, did you ask her to marry you?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say to her?
I said, Liz, will you marry me? She says, yes. To me, that was a contract. 3 days later, she stayed out all night. I presume now it was with Ken.
This is the boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
This was the one that the $42 is about. But where was I now?
You were giving her the rings that were so sentimentally valid for you because you had bought them for your deceased wife in 1987, and you gave them to somebody who came home every third night smelling like a billy goat.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
That's where you were.
She just 3 days we were engaged. She goes out that night, spends out all night long. I don't know where she was or anything. I broke off the engagement. I'm driving her back to her mother's house. And she says, Bill, please let me have the rings for a couple of days. I says, why do you want the rings? She says, I want to save face in front of my family, my wife, my mother, and my kids. I says, okay, but I've got to have them back. When I went to get them back, she absolutely refused.
Okay. And then she's going to tell me that when you said, give me the rings, I want the rings, I want the rings, she came over to your house and you threw them in the yard. Is that right?
What happened was he had started driving by my house,
and calling all the time. And one day he came over and all I had on was a T-shirt. He came in and he tried to hug me and he grabbed my breasts. At the time,
Would you get to the rings, please?
Okay, I was with Ken. Okay.
Good for you. Would you
Ken
get to
told
the
me
rings,
flat out,
please?
this is what he said. He said, I want you to prove that you're done with Bill Perdue officially, okay? So we got in his van, he drove, we drove by, and I threw the rings in his yard and called to let him know that they were there.
You're an idiot. All right. Strike you. Strike you. Now, let me go through this with you, Mr. Perdue. She told you at some point in between her going out in the evening that she had to get a restraining order against him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you say to her?
I went with her down to the town court. We did file a temporary restraining order. I gave her the money. She filed it. A month later, you go back and make it permanent in front of a judge. But the night before, we'd gone out for a couple of drinks, and she started to fight for no reason. I've got no idea why she's so mad, but she's starting to fight. So I says, you got to fight. I said, I don't care. But she said, okay, I'm going to court tomorrow by myself.
Your Honor, there was no argument.
Shh.
I found out that she went to court. As soon as Ken walked in, they went outside for a long time. She came back in and dropped charges on that very day.
Fine, that still doesn't make this alone, sir. Mr. Perdue. It doesn't make it alone.
She asked me for the money.
Your Honor,
So
he told me he was giving me the money.
Miss Higgins, don't interrupt me. That doesn't make it a loan, Mr. Perdue. She asked you for the money. You gave her the money.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a gift. That's not a loan. So let's just deal with the rings. All right. Now, Miss Higgins, I want you to tell me your version of the rings.
Okay, he had bought these rings. Okay, they were sitting in his house. Okay, in a box. Finally, one night he comes and he says, he looks right at me and he says, Liz, I know, and these are exact words, I know that you're probably never going to marry me, but I bought these for you. They're your rings. I took the rings. It's that simple.
So you were really nothing more than a housekeeper for him.
He and I...
Shh. That's what you say in your answer. That you took care of the house, you cleaned up, you cooked, and you were a companion. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So it was a job.
It wasn't necessarily a job. I mean, we were both benefiting from it. I was staying there and taking a break from my house, and my mom's handicapped, and I take care of her. So I was taking a break from that. And he was benefiting by eating and having his house cleaned.
So that it was a barter arrangement, but still a job. You got free room and board, and he got his house cleaned.
Right.
And his refrigerator replenished with cooked food.
That's right, Your Honor. I bought the groceries.
Shh. Then can you explain to me why he would say to an employee, you're probably never going to marry me, but I bought these rings for you?
Because
so you answer
that's the reason I left, Your Honor, because he started getting obsessive. And at one point in time, he started referring himself to me as Daddy.
Okay, let me ask you this question, Ms. Higgins. Do you believe that if you hadn't taken the rings and encouraged a relationship, if I believe your story, you say, no, I'm not, Mr. Perdue, I'm not taking these rings from you because you're right, I'm not going to marry you. I am your housekeeper. Do you think that he would have become obsessive?
He was already, before we had lived together prior to this, he had already become obsessive. See, I stayed with him for a while before. When he was telling you that he met me through a boyfriend I had at the time.
Yes.
Okay? And I would invite him over at that time to cook meals for him. Okay? Because I knew his wife had just died. I had heard all kinds of different things about him.
Okay.
So anyway, back then, he asked me to come and stay. Okay? And he was missing home-cooked meals. And at the time, that's all he wanted. Okay? And I was staying with him. Then he began wanting more, and he wanted sex and different things. And I moved out at that time, too. Now, this time he promised me it would be different.
Now, what prompted you, if he wanted all of these things, what prompted you to move back there?
Because we had been friends without me living there. We had just remained friends.
Is there any reason, Miss Higgins, why when Genius over here told you that he wanted to know that you were finished with Mr. Perdue once and for all, and according to you, you drove by the house and threw the rings in the yard, you couldn't do the civilized thing, which would have been to put the rings in a box, take it to the post office, and mail it to him?
Your Honor, at that time I was very angry because the reason this conversation between Ken and I even started in the first place. In fact, can I call him up here, Your Honor, for this?
Oh, I would love to hear from him.
I can. But anyway, the thing is that I was angry because he was driving by the house and we were getting phone calls, and my kids had told me.
Why didn't you just give him back the rings?
Because my kids had told me.
Why didn't you just give him?
I didn't want to see him.
Why didn't you just give him back the rings?
He was obsessed with me, and I didn't want to see him.
You don't have to see him. Mail him back the rings.
I was extremely angry.
What were you angry about?
Because my kids had come to me and told me that he was trying to bribe my kids.
Why didn't you just return the rings?
I was angry, and I just went and threw them in his yard, and I called him, told him there they were.
Listen.
Because his threats, he was threatening that somebody was looking around for him to beat him up and everything else. And I was so fed up with the guy.
You want
I
to
just
say
didn't want
anything to
anything
me?
Yes, Your Honor. Her and I have had a rocky relationship, but the thing is, I'm tired of the phone calls from him. It's 7 o'clock in the morning every day. He's come in between our relationship enough times. Well, he was a nice guy when I met him, but he got worse and worse, and it just conflict between him and I. He would kind of come by the house in the middle of the night.
You don't think that she's partially responsible for that?
I think they're both responsible for some things.
Fine, right. The fact that you are not sleeping with him, sir, doesn't mean that he's more responsible than she is. She took advantage
Your Honor,
of him.
I wasn't sleeping with him.
I didn't say you sleeping with him, madam. I said the fact that he's not sleeping with him.
Oh, okay.
You see, the reason he's angry with him is because why should he be angry with you? The two of you share a bed together. He says you're equally responsible. The two of you are equally responsible. Well, the reason he's mad at him instead of you is because he sleeps with you, and he doesn't sleep with him. Now, do you understand that? That may be confusing to you. Not you.
No, I
him.
understand.
Now, you understand. All right? So, they're equally responsible, but not really. She's more responsible. You want me to tell you why? Is your name Ken?
Yes, ma'am.
Ken.
Judge.
There's no fool like an old fool. He's an old fool. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Got a younger woman, makes him feel younger, makes him feel stronger, gets a little obsessive. She encourages him a little bit. She encourages him a lot because she's got to get away from one boyfriend, she moves in with him. She's got to get away from you because things aren't good, she moves in with him. She moves in with him, then she takes off and goes with you. She gets a restraining...
Your Honor, that's not
Quiet! She gets a restraining order, preliminary restraining order against you. She's saying, poor me, I'm a poor victim, everybody's abusing me. And she said a lot of things about you in order to get a restraining order, sir. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
What did she say about you in the restraining order? Did she say that you were abusive?
Yes.
Did she say that you were threatening?
Yes.
Did she say that she was afraid of you?
Yes.
Was all that true?
Parts.
Parts, but parts not?
Parts not.
Were you abusive?
At times.
Really? Were you physically abusive?
There was some pushing every once in a while.
Every once in a while. He never pushed her.
That's not what I was told either.
Oh, just a minute. A little obsessive, maybe. But didn't do half the things to her that you did. And then she made up some stuff along the way, according to you, when she made out that report, right?
I'd assume so.
What do you mean you assume so? You got a copy of it, sir. You read it, right? That's why you showed up in the courthouse that day. And when you saw it, Ken, did you say to yourself, she's lying about some of this stuff? She's a liar?
Well, see, I didn't ask her any questions. I had no contact.
Did you say to yourself, she's a liar? I never did that. On some of the stuff you did, right? So here we have two people on one side, and you now tell me that she's a liar.
I don't say fully
a liar. If you lie,
any way
if
you'd
you
like to put it, Your
swear
Honor.
to an application for a protective order under penalties of perjury, and you lie, that makes you a liar.
Yes.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
She threatened my mother. She threatened all of my friends. She threatened to put antifreeze in my dog's food bowl.
You have to stop.
I have.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to stop.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bill Perdue says ex-fiancée Elizabeth Higgins owes for the cost of 2 heirloom rings. Elizabeth says she threw the rings into his front yard.
Listen to me. I find that these rings were given as an engagement gift in contemplation of getting married. And when Miss Higgins accepted it, she may not have been serious about accepting them as an engagement ring.
Yes.
She may not have been serious, but she led you to believe she was serious. I don't believe her story that she was the housekeeper and cooked your chicken every other Tuesday and Thursday and maybe a brisket on Friday. I don't believe that.
No.
And if she wanted to return them, then she does the reasonable thing. If she, in fact, returned them at all by throwing them in your yard, she puts them in the mail and returns them. So I don't believe she returned them at all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,850. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very glad she's got a new outfit. She looks like a kind of little Catholic girl.
We were just true friends, and I truly believe that. I believed he was a good friend to me, but obviously I was wrong.
I think I'll probably start going to church now instead of hanging in the bars picking up women.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Moss. Step forward, please.
Nanny Gail Martin is suing her former employer, day spa owner Kimberly Moss, for non-payment of services rendered. Kimberly says Gail abused her 10-year-old daughter, Lauren.
Miss Martin, you answered an ad in the paper for child care and light housework that the defendant had placed in the paper. It is your claim that you worked there and you were not fully paid before she let you go.
That's correct.
Okay. The defendant says you were, in fact, fully paid. Are these the two children she was supposed to take care of?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you answer the ad, and when did you start working?
I answered the ad the first day I noticed it was in there, and there were 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And I started to work on, the first week was October the 10th, and the second week was October the 15th.
Okay, what was the pay arrangement?
She told me, I told her what I got at my last job, and she said I paid $10 an hour. And after the first week, which was the Friday, but I had to come back Saturday, she only paid me the $300 from the first 3 days.
Well, whatever it was,
it wasn't enough because I had worked that first week.
The first week, how many days did you work?
4 days.
Is that correct?
I really don't remember.
Well, if you don't remember, then I have to rely on her. And the second week you worked, how many days did you work?
I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 3
And
days.
how much were you paid during that 2-week period? Yes, you were.
The whole time I worked there, she paid me $300.
Okay. How much did you pay her?
When she first came to my employment, we agreed that she would get $100 a day. And
Really, not $10 an hour?
No.
$100 a day, irrespective of how many hours she worked?
Right.
First week she worked 4 days, and you gave her how much?
Whatever it was, she
said you only gave her $300.
Well, that's not accurate. Whatever I owed her is what I paid her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nanny Gail Martin says former employer Kimberly Moss owes for babysitting fees. Kimberly says Gail threw her 10-year-old daughter in the shower with her clothes on.
So, what happened the second week?
The second week, she was paid up. On the last day, her car broke down. She asked if she could stay with us overnight for a couple days because she didn't have transportation to and from work. And I said that would be fine until she got her car fixed. The first morning of the night that she stayed over, there was a problem. And what happened was I was in bed. My daughter Chelsea came running to me to wake me up, telling me that Gail had put Lauren, my baby, into the hot shower with her nightgown on. So I got up and ran into her bedroom, and there she was crying, cuddled up in the corner in the hot shower. So I got in the shower with her in my nightgown and blocked the hot water from her and adjusted the temperature, and to try to reduce the trauma of what had already occurred, took a shower with her, got her out, we all got ready for school, took her to school. That is why my secretary drove her home, because if I was to confront her about it, it would have turned out ugly. So I had my secretary relieve her from, that was the last day.
Did you put the child in the shower? No, ma'am, I would never do that to a child under any circumstances. Never. And if this did happen, how come she didn't call HRS? That's what I'd like to know. When she told me she didn't have the money.
Was in the shower?
The baby, Lauren, was.
Lauren? Come up here. Tell me about the shower.
I was in bed and I didn't want to get up because I didn't feel good. And then she picked me.
You mean get up to go to school?
Yeah. And she picked me up out of the bed and put me in the shower, and she turned the hot water on with my nightgown on.
No question in your mind about that?
Mm-mm.
Where was your sister?
She was in bed with me.
Had that ever happened before?
No.
Okay, go sit down. All right. Ms. Moss, the plaintiff worked for you for 3 days, the second week.
Correct.
Did you pay her?
I do not remember the exact amount of time that she was under our employment.
Fine. Then I have to rely on her records for those days.
That's fine.
That she would. Now, at that point, did you fire her?
That day, absolutely.
That day, she was let go?
Absolutely.
Okay. You say not. Is that right?
No. She explained to me she was going to go to Daytona Beach with her boyfriend, and that her business that she just opened, her Kimberly's Day Spa. They do facials,
Whatever.
and massages.
You were
and
told
whatever.
that your services were no longer
Yes,
necessary.
because her business hadn't taken off like she expected it to, and that she couldn't afford it. This child that's wearing that nice little Sunday school outfit, that's not what they wore when I worked there. They dressed shamelessly.
What do you mean shamelessly?
They dressed in little Daisy Dukes with half their butt poking out the bottom, and little things with their belly buttons showing, and trying to go to school like that. They were, and makeup, and they were hellions.
And what about
they were 9 and 11, going on 17.
Go ahead.
I came back on the Monday to collect some money that she owed me from that previous week. Her oldest son was changing the locks on her house door. And I said, well, what happened? He says, don't expect to find any money here. We had a break-in. Our safe was broken into, but I didn't see any black powder anywhere. So he said, we don't have any money to pay you. So why would she have to do that if she paid me the week before?
Okay.
Now,
okay.
Ergo.
Okay. You work there according to your records, and since she doesn't have any records of her own, which she should have, a total of 7 days. I am crediting her testimony that your agreement was $100 a day, and that she paid you, according to your records, which I am crediting, $300, which means she owes you $400, and I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
I'm trying to help her just get out in life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Morton. Step forward, please.
Nurse Danae Johnson and her husband, Robert, are suing their niece's boyfriend, 18-year-old handyman Derek Morton, for damaging their car.
Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, is this your daughter?
Yes.
Oh, your daughter was dating the defendant.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah. And you didn't approve?
Absolutely not.
According to your complaint, the defendant purposely damaged your car or a truck that you were in. And it appears to me that when you came home one day, your daughter wasn't home, you went to the police station to find out if they could help. You thought she was with the defendant. You were on your way home, you saw his truck, you decided to follow his truck, to confront him and talk to him about dating your daughter. Is that right?
Yes.
And it was during this attempt to talk to him that he damaged your vehicle.
No.
Why don't you tell me what happened? You go home, you don't find your daughter. You go to the police, you're on your way home. You see his truck. Pick it up from there.
We followed the truck, and he took a turn.
You followed the truck?
Yes.
Go ahead.
He takes a turn down a road that has a circle drive on it, and as he went into the circle drive, I stopped and just sit there waiting for him to make the turn and come out the other side.
So you blocked his way?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
My husband got out of the car, went to the passenger side of the car, pulled our daughter out of the car.
You go over to the passenger side. Open the door?
Yep.
And how did you pull your daughter out?
I grabbed her by the arm and pulled her on out of there, and
what is she saying to you as you're pulling her out of the car?
she started screaming, and I don't know exactly what she was saying, but she was yelling.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danae and Robert Johnson claim they spotted their 14-year-old daughter driving with 18-year-old Derek Morton. The Johnsons say when they pulled them over, Derek damaged their car.
Okay, you get her out of his truck.
Right.
And what do you do with her when you get her out of his truck?
Well, she's standing beside me. I kind of leaned in my head in there to tell him to not be messing with my daughter, and that's when he started to take off. And he kind of hit me with his truck on the leg, and then I was worried about her because she was out of the car, and he started coming toward her and hit her with the truck.
Hit her body or hit her car?
Hit her body.
Our daughter was jumping on his back and telling Derek, go, take off, take off. I got out of the car to go get my daughter, was what I was doing. And
to pull
she started
your daughter
screaming.
off your husband's back?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And she was yelling, take off, Derek, take off. And as I rounded the back of the car, he just floored it and was taken off. And I threw myself out of the way, caught my arm with his truck, kind of spun me around a little bit. He went on down the road, and I was furious, to say the least. We all got in the car, and we're headed to the police station. And we get down the gravel road a little ways, and Derek's just kind of toying around, going 3, 4, or 5 miles an hour, you know. Not really fast enough that you could follow him, so I stopped and looked down to grab an ink pen to have my husband write down his license plate number so there could be no question who it was. And as I was looking down, Bob and Jennifer yelled, "Watch out, Mom!" And before I could look up, he had already thrown his truck in reversed into me, and then takes off again.
That's what happened. So I was absolutely right. You went to talk to him and get your daughter out of his company, and it was during that time that you alleged that he both assaulted you with his truck and assaulted you with his truck and caused damage to your vehicle. Right?
Right.
That's what I said when we started. So I only have a couple of questions for you, Derek. How old are you?
18.
How old is she?
15.
14.
14. You get the drift that her parents aren't crazy about you.
Yeah, but I want to tell my side of the story too. So.
I'm ready.
All right. They said it's a bunch of bullshit.
Now listen to me. Derek, do you know the difference between rain and shine?
Yes.
Listen to me. Look at me. I don't want you to follow it through. You know the difference between rain and shine? Yes?
Yes.
Do you know the difference between black and white?
Yes.
Do you know the difference between a playground and a courthouse?
Mm-hmm.
Speak.
Yes.
In a playground, you can use
Yes.
whatever language you like. In a courthouse, watch your mouth, or then I don't listen to you. Do we understand each other, Derek?
Mm.
Now, you're going to start to tell me your story again, but you're going to leave out the playground language. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Speak.
Yes.
Good. Now I'll hear you.
All right. I was driving down the road, right? And then she was on my bumper.
Correct. That's exactly what she was doing. They did exactly the wrong thing. Whatever they did was wrong, mother and father.
Can you let me finish my story?
Did you just hear what I said? I said whatever they did was wrong.
Well, be quiet while I'm talking. All right, this you.
Oh, get him out of here. Listen, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, sometimes God did not shine on you right. God did not shine on him and give him brains. It gave him the brain cells of an amoeba. You know, we all had to start from someplace. So I understand if you don't want your daughter to have anything to do with him. However, you went about it the wrong way. Do you understand?
Yes.
You went around it the wrong way. Your initial reaction was right. You went to the police station and you said, my underage daughter is with this 18-year-old cretin, and I want him out of her company. But you cut him off. You touched his car, sir. When you grabbed open the door to his car, you put your hands on his property in a threatening manner. You created a situation where your own daughter is jumping on your back. Is that ridiculous?
Well, I wasn't going to do nothing. The cops told me if I assaulted him, I'd be going to jail, so.
Listen to me, sir. You were creating a situation that potentially was inflammatory because he doesn't have any brains. He reacts like an animal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And you probably knew that. I assume that you knew that. Maybe she doesn't know that. But you were smart enough to know that. You don't confront an animal. You let professionals, exterminators, confront animals. That's what the police are there for. You don't do it yourself, because when you do it yourself, you get your truck banged up. And that's what happens, and you got to pay for it. You still see him? Are you sure?
I'm sure. I think he's a jerk.
A jerk? Huh. To put it mildly, jerk. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, go home. Take your daughter home. Goodbye. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 2.
35-year-old nuclear power plant worker Scott Ladd is suing 40-year-old contractor Dell Lindquist for assaulting him outside a bar. Dell says Scott was harassing his girlfriend, and he put a stop to it.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 59 on the calendar in the matter of Ladd versus Lindquist. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Ladd, according to what I've read, sir, you went into a tavern and you had half a dozen beers, maybe 4 or 5, ordered a large pizza to go, and as you were exiting the tavern, there was some sort of an altercation with the defendant. Then you claim outside he assaulted you seriously. Is that right?
That's correct.
His ultimate defense is there was some sort of a verbal altercation. You bet him $20 that you could whip his butt, and you did. That's your defense, so that it was a fair fight. Outside. That's your defense.
It was a
That you won the bet.
No, I haven't been paid.
That was cute, Mr. Lindquist. We'll see. All right, Mr. Ladd, had you ever seen this gentleman before?
Just as a patron of the bar,
What time did you arrive at the bar?
approximately 7 o'clock,
And what time did this assault take place?
9:30.
So you were there for about 2.5 hours.
That's correct.
So what happened when they give you your pizza, you pay your tab, and you start to walk out?
Well, it's very busy as I'm going through the crowd. Supposedly, I bumped in to his girlfriend, which was sitting on a bar stool in the aisleway to go out the door. Supposedly, Mr. Lindquist confronted me about...
Not supposedly. Listen, stop with the supposedly. You tell me what you remember of that evening.
I remember
Did you
Lindquist
remember
confronting
poking
me.
her with the box, with the pizza box?
I don't recall that because it was so busy. I probably bumped several people basically going through the crowd.
Okay.
There was a small aisleway to walk through.
What did he say to you?
I can't recall his exact words, but he confronted me about poking his girlfriend with the pizza box. He threatened me with ripping my throat out.
That's a threat. Go ahead.
At that point there, I exchanged words of the mouth, so I told him to back off, and there was some adjectives that were basically said.
By you?
Yes.
Okay. And did you continue to leave?
At that point, yes, I did.
He hadn't put his hands on you at that point?
No.
You walk out the front door. How far did you get? Was there a parking lot outside?
I was parked on the far end. This is a strip mall.
And were you at your car when this assault took place?
No, I was walking down the sidewalk.
And tell me what you recall.
I recall as being hit in the back of the head, very hard. I thought it was a beer bottle. I have a medical report.
Then what happened? I'll look at all your reports in a minute.
I was on the ground. The defendant was on top of me. He struck me several times in the side of the head. I put my hands up, tried to defend myself. That's when the individual basically bit on to my right finger. As the individual was biting me, with the pain and the shock and everything else, I was grabbing his face, trying to make him to stop.
But you were on the ground?
That is correct, with him
Go
on
ahead.
top of me.
Go ahead.
At that point, somebody, if I recall, yelled that the police are coming. The individual let go of my finger at that point and struck me several other times in the side of the head again and got up and ran into the bar.
What happened when the police arrived?
Because this was a bar brawl, from what they call it, they stated if I wanted to press charges on the incident. At first, I said, yes, I do. The individual, which was the officer, explained to me that because there was no witnesses and this was mutual combatant and their part of what they considered.
Why, had they interviewed the defendant?
Well, there was another police officer inside the restaurant interviewing him.
Okay, go ahead.
They stated that they would have to put us in detox for 72 hours.
Because you were drunk?
I was not drunk at the time. I have my witness which will state how much alcohol I consumed within the 2.5 hours to my body weight of 225 pounds at 6'2".
How many beers did you have?
I believe it was 4.
Okay.
The officer stated that to the fact that he would have to charge both of us with assault.
So that you decided not to proceed?
Because of the 72 hours, I am an instrumentation and control specialist at a nuclear generating power plant. I was scheduled to run certain tests. I could not afford not to be there.
So you decided not to press
That
charge?
is correct.
Okay. Can I see your medical reports, please?
Sure.
When did you go to the hospital?
My sister-in-law picked me up that night. These are my medical records. Would you like the expenses also now?
Not yet. Did you get any police reports?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to have them too, please. Thank you, Bert. Now I'd like to hear your version of the events.
Well, Mr. Ladd was walking out of the bar.
What time did you arrive at the bar?
9 p.m.
Your girlfriend was with you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I asked him, are you leaving so soon? And he had said yes, and unless Kathy will buy me a beer, as he had his pizza box and poked her in the back. And didn't like what he was doing, and I says for him to stop that. He made a foul-mouthed remark that I don't care to repeat.
Well, repeat it.
He said he effed her in the and not to worry about it.
Right.
And that's when I made the comment that I'll bet you $20 that I'll take you outside and kick your butt. And he walked around the corner and stood where the waitresses stand and motioned me like, well, come on, are we going to do this? And I followed him around, and he walked down.
Why did you do that? He's gone. He's leaving.
He's motioning me and egging me on, and he had bet me.
No. He didn't bet you. You bet him.
Well, he agreed to the bet.
Go ahead.
Got out the door, walked down he walked down at least 50 feet.
Right,
And
so he's leaving.
He is leaving.
And his back is towards you.
No.
Well, his back has to be towards you, sir, unless he was walking backwards.
No, he was making remarks as
His back
he,
has to be towards you as he's walking, sir,
he
because...
was turned sideways.
So he's walking sideways, like
Walking
a crane.
sideways. Walking sideways, talking to me.
All right,
or
go ahead.
Saying bad words. He sets his pizza box down and invites me on, are we going to get this done? When we first came together, he reached out and he grabbed me by the face as we were standing face to face, shoulder to shoulder. And
You weren't
started,
standing shoulder to shoulder with him.
No, I wasn't. But
No. You weren't standing shoulder to
square shoulder to shoulder, square shoulders to square
Right.
shoulders. Reached out, grabbed me by the face.
Why? Why?
I don't know. I just imagine that to be face to face.
Well.
Face to neck. Go ahead.
And he kind of grabbed my face to where I couldn't really get near him. We were going to fight. He grabbed inside my mouth and underneath my chin and started pulling me to the ground. And whether I bit him or he got cut on my teeth on the way down, I just happened to come out on top.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nuclear power plant worker Scott Ladd says he was assaulted by Del Lindquist after exchanging words with him in a bar. Del says when Scott insulted his girlfriend, he beat him up.
Which one of you ladies was present during the course of this altercation?
I was.
Can you step up, please? Tell me your name.
My name is Lisa.
Lisa what?
Lisa Tyson.
Ms. Tyson, do you work at the tavern?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do there?
I'm a bartender.
You know both of these gentlemen?
Yes, I do.
You ever had any difficulty with the plaintiff at the bar?
No, I haven't.
You ever had any problem with the defendant before at the bar?
Yes, I have. I've witnessed him making verbal remarks to other customers that would talk to his girlfriend.
Like what?
He told this other guy who was talking to his girlfriend that he wanted to rip his throat out.
He likes to say that. Clearly.
I guess. But then I immediately went over there and confronted the situation, and I warned Del that if he decided to fight in the bar or in the parking lot, he will be 86'd out of the bar for good.
Did you hear any interaction between the two of these gentlemen?
No, I didn't.
Did you wait on Mr. Ladd that evening?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall how much alcohol he consumed?
He had about 4 beers.
Have a seat. Thank you very much. You have any other witnesses that you want me to hear, sir?
Yes, I do. I'd like to have the manager of the bar step up.
Tell me your name.
Deb Miles.
Miss Miles, did you witness any part of this incident?
I was not outside. I did not see that. I was chatting with Kathy, Dell's girlfriend, and another gal.
This is girlfriend.
Right. Next thing I knew, a waitress from the dining room came out and said that there was a fight going on outside.
So you really didn't see anything?
I did not see that, no.
What did you want her to testify to?
I don't want to testify for her, but Kathy, Dell's girlfriend, knew nothing of this incident. She can support that claim for me.
Oh,
just
a second. Did you ask her what they were doing outside?
I asked her if she knew they were outside.
And what did she say?
She said no. And then she wanted to go outside. And I said, no, you have to stay in here, Kathy. You've been drinking. Don't go out there. Just stay out of it.
Was she drunk?
She did quite a few, in my opinion. I didn't personally serve her, so I don't know for sure.
Did she say anything about anybody doing anything untoward to her that evening?
No, no. We were just chatting, and the next thing we knew, this fight was going on. So we didn't hear any argument, anything like that.
Step up. What's your last name?
Dubé.
What do you remember?
I didn't see nothing outside, but I do remember him walking by.
He walked by, and what happened?
He said to him, leaving so early, he said, yes, I've had too much to drink. I'm going to take my pizza and me home. Unless Kathy wants to buy me a drink, poke me in the back. And it was real crowded. And I was talking to the manager, Michelle, on the right hand of me, and Debbie was down
Yes.
a chair from me.
Right.
And then I just started talking to Michelle, and then all of a sudden I heard him telling him to quit poking me in the back, and then as he was walking away, that's when he said what he did to me.
Which was?
I don't want to say it.
Well, I'd like to hear what you
I just
heard him
heard
say.
it. It just,
Really? Well, that's a nasty thing to say.
Yeah.
Did you think he was drunk?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
Were you drunk?
No, I probably had 3 beers.
3 beers in a half hour?
2.
Maybe 3?
I just got there.
Well, maybe 3 beers in a half hour. And what about Mr. Lindquist? What did he have to drink?
We probably had 2.
Maybe 3. Well, the officer indicates that both suspects were intoxicated, and the effects of alcohol was very obvious on both of them.
Can I make a comment related to that?
Sure.
After being struck in the head several times and with what I believe with a beer bottle.
Did you see a beer bottle, by the way, when this altercation was over?
I did not know.
Okay. So it's possible that you were just hit on the back of the head with a
Yes.
fist. It's possible.
That's possible.
Doesn't make any difference. The medical records indicate that you were injured that evening. And injured
I don't want to interrupt you, but with the injury I sustained in my finger, you know, and the shock and the trauma and everything that was going on, if the officer smelled alcohol on my breath, was establishing 4 beers over a 2.5-hour period.
Doesn't make any difference, sir. I have to believe, Mr. Ladd, that the defendant, without provocation, assaulted you, and without provocation, rendered you, because of your larger stature, rendered you sort of in a position where he could, in fact, assault you, which was somehow getting you to the ground, because you are a larger stature than he is, and that would be smart. Now, being smart would render you on the ground as a result of being either hit in the back of the head with a fist or with something else. Not the way Mr. Lindquist indicates, because the officer nowhere in his report, sir, indicates that you have any scratches or marks on your face. That's really surprising if this assault took place, Mr. Lindquist, the way you indicated.
I have a police report that states that I have scratches.
Let me see.
And I
Suspect 1 had minor scratches or scrapes on his face. Suspect 2 possessed open wounds on his fingers and a slight laceration to his forehead. Mr. Lindquist, did you ever hear the expression when you were growing up, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you've had trouble with people talking to your girlfriend before in the bar, according to the bar people.
Yes, Your Honor.
So this isn't an unusual occurrence to you. If you don't want people to talk to your girlfriend, sir, keep her in your apartment. Because if you take her to a bar where people sometimes get a little high, a little happy, and they may say something either in a polite vein or in a seductive vein, or sometimes, according to you, totally inappropriate things. If I believe what you attribute to him, it was totally inappropriate. But the reaction, especially if you know or believe that someone is intoxicated, you believed he was intoxicated, right, Kathy?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yes.
Then you just let it rest. Then I have to believe that he egged you on. Well, I don't believe that at all. I believe that the guy's taking his pizza and he's going home. He's out of there. You decided to follow him outside, which you did. And I believe that in order to get him in a vulnerable position, you hit him from behind.
In the forehead.
You hit him from behind. If you hit him from behind in the forehead, that's sort of like that. That doesn't happen, does it? You know, you
Only
sort
in
of,
the movies.
Only in the movies. Only if you have very long arms. So you assaulted him. And you hurt him. And you have to pay. Period. And if you can't hold your liquor, don't drink. What were your medical expenses, sir?
I have a report. I do have insurance.
What's your out-of-pocket?
My out-of-pocket is $526.44. They have me on prescriptions yet, anti-inflammatories, to try to still get the swelling down in my finger. At this point...
Can I see your finger, please? Step up. You still have no feeling in the finger?
The finger is totally numb to light touch. The medical report...
Step back.
I'm sorry.
May I add something, Your Honor?
Just a minute, he's not finished yet. Then you can add whatever you like.
Okay.
You still have no feeling in the tips of your finger.
That's correct. I have lost the movement of to totally squeeze my fingers all together. The doctor, last I seen, said if the swelling goes down over time and with these
May come back.
prescriptions, that it may go back.
Okay. Yes, now you wanted to say something.
Well, if I would jump him from behind, isn't that assault and battery? Wouldn't, you know, if I'm walking out in the parking lot and somebody jumps me from behind and the police come, I think I'm going to make a report or have him arrested, you know, because people
Sure,
just,
unless you're inside with the other police officer who you spoke to that evening. Is that right?
Yes.
And I assume you gave him the same cock and bull story you gave me. The way you indicated that you were standing shoulder to shoulder to him and he put his fingers in your face, and so that's
well,
how
he
you
set
bit
his
his finger.
pizza box down first.
What?
He set his pizza box down first. And if somebody got jumped from behind, don't you think there'd be pizza all over the place?
There
too?
might be. Where is there an indication that there wasn't?
Hmm?
Where is there an indication
Wouldn't
that...
you think he'd want to be paid for his pizza too?
Are you kidding me or what?
No, I'm not kidding you. I'd be mad if
You
somebody...
got a hot temper.
If somebody knocked me down from behind and knocked my $20 pizza on the ground at the same time, and the police showed up, I would definitely file some charges here.
Well, he wanted to file charges, sir, but you told the police that this was a fight, a barroom brawl, that he actually started with you. He actually put his hands on you first. That's what you told me.
That is
That you
correct.
turned around, shoulder to shoulder, after you followed him out of the bar, and he took his hand and put it in your face, and probably as a result of the heavy pushing, he fell on top of you, and that's how he ended up on the ground, and probably on the weight of you both going down and his finger in your mouth, that's how his finger got lacerated, requiring medical treatment and stitches. That's what you told me.
Yeah, I grabbed
Judgment
his
for the
finger.
plaintiff in the amount of $5,000 as requested. That's all.
Throwing rocks, I just walk away.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Garrison versus DeTrolio. Step forward, please.
25-year-old fraud specialist Katrina Garrison is suing her former friend, 29-year-old import coordinator Stacy DiTrolio, for her portion of a security deposit. Stacy says she's already paid.
This case deals with a loan that the defendant needed for an apartment rent deposit. Is that right?
Correct.
And you two ladies were friends.
Yes.
You were moving?
Yes. I moved in with a roommate.
You moved in with someone?
Yes.
Who already had the apartment?
No, we both moved in together. It was a
Okay.
house.
And what was the rent on this house?
It was $1,500 first, last, and deposit.
So tell me when you approached the plaintiff about the $1,500 loan.
It was around August, and I believe that...
Beginning, middle?
Beginning.
Did you approach her by phone or in person?
In person.
Was it at her house?
Our house.
You were living together at the time?
No, my house. We'd already moved in, and we had already paid the first and deposit. We needed the last.
Had she come over to visit?
Yes.
Who was present?
Me, Amy, and Katrina.
Who's Amy?
Witness.
The witness. She wasn't your roommate?
No.
All right, so
We were
you
all
came
friends.
over with your witness, and the three of you had a discussion. You told her that you needed $1,500.
Yes.
Tell me in your own words what you said.
I actually approached Amy because Amy and I were very good friends, and she said that Katrina probably would help us out. I never really asked right up front. It was just kind of like, well, Katrina probably will, and I mean, I wasn't looking to borrow money from Katrina, but
you did.
But
So
I
you
did.
had to have said something to her.
Yes.
Come on.
That we needed help with the last month's rent.
And what did she say to you?
She said, okay.
When did, after that conversation, did she give you the money?
Few days, a couple days.
Did she give it to you in check or cash?
Check.
And you have the check?
I don't have the check. I didn't have time for them to get it from the bank.
You have your bank statement?
I don't have the bank statement either.
Why not?
She said she don't borrow the money. There's no question about that, whether she borrowed the money.
Just a minute. There's always a question to me. You're supposed to come to court with evidence. Evidence would be a check, a canceled check that you gave her.
I have emails that state that she borrowed the money from me.
Okay. How much did you pay her back?
$700.
Check or cash?
Cash.
How much did you pay her back?
$200.
Check or cash?
Check.
You have a copy of the check?
No.
You have a copy of the check?
I don't have a copy of the check. I just deposited the check into the bank.
The first one was $200 in cash, and the rest was, or $200 with the check, and the rest was cash.
Why did you give her cash after
Because she didn't want a check, she wanted cash. and we were friends. So
Why didn't she want a check? Had she had trouble with your check before?
Probably.
She gave me the check on October 23rd, and I was not able to cash a check until December 29th. And I went in on every single payday. She works with her at the same company, so I know what her paydays were and everything. So I
wish I would have had a copy of that check.
I
because
walked
that's not
into the
true.
bank every morning on the 1st and the 15th of the month to cash a check, and the funds were not available.
My paydays were the 7th and the 22nd, Your Honor.
What difference does it make?
Well, that's not the truth. So.
Well, Ms. Petrolio, common sense would suggest that if you had given her a check once and she had absolutely no trouble cashing it, then she wouldn't have insisted on cash for the remainder of the money that you claim you gave her, right?
Well, you can assume that,
Right.
I suppose. Yes.
Right. Well, that sounds like a logical assumption. That's what I would do. Somebody gave me a check and I was able to go put it in the bank. I would say, fine, give me a check for the rest of the money. Now, you have a rather interesting defense. Your defense is that you really paid her back.
My share.
Your share.
Yes.
You say you paid her back $700 in total?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Shh, just wait a second. You said you gave her $700 in total. 7 and 7 is 14. You borrowed 15.
The $100 was a fee.
A what?
Some kind of loan fee that my other roommate at the time was going to pay because I paid more of the rent part of it.
It doesn't make any difference.
Her other roommate.
Just a second. Your defense is that only half of this money is attributable to you, the other half is attributable to your roommate.
Exactly.
When did the plaintiff have a conversation with your roommate about the money? What does that mean?
Well,
what does that mean?
She knows because we had the discussion about Christy paying half.
To you?
Yes, to me.
Not to her.
Right. No.
Not to her.
I told her, too, that Christy was responsible for half of that.
No. She was responsible for half of that to you. You assumed that your roommate would pay half.
Yes.
Because that's your defense. Your defense is get it from my roommate.
She's got the wrong person. I paid my share, and she
Not to
knows
her.
that.
No, that's what she knows. That goes into the operation of her mind. If she had a contract with two people, then you are absolutely right. The two people would be responsible for the return of this money. If, however, she had a contract with only one person, and she made that verbal agreement with one person, and that's you, then you are responsible for getting half of that money from your roommate, not her. You can't say, this loan was for both of us, I'm going to pay my share, you go and get the rest from my roommate. It's your job. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. You understand?
I understand perfectly.
Perfect. Now, what I don't understand, Ms. Garrison, is you acknowledge, if I believe what you say, that you only received $200 from the defendant.
Correct.
You talk about these emails about a paper that she signed. Where is it?
I moved, and I have been able to find it. It was a promissory note that she signed by herself. Amy,
That's
my
not
witness,
true.
That is true. My
That is
witness
not
was
true.
Doesn't
there
make any difference.
when she signed it as well.
I'm just curious as to why you didn't bring it if it's in here.
It's because it didn't prove her case.
Well, you should have a copy.
I
You
didn't
signed
get a
the
copy
note.
because she's my friend, or was my friend.
Just a second. You sign a note, you keep a copy.
Well, I guess I'm not that smart.
Well, I'm not so sure. You borrow money, you don't pay it back. That makes you pretty smart. It says here that she gave you $600.
She wrote that.
Oh, I understand that. But what I'm looking for is for your answer when you say, you never gave me $600, you only gave me $200.
It's because she can't.
It's in there. It is in there.
Show me. I want the response to her $600. Because first she says 7, then she says 6.
Your Honor, I also have an affidavit from my roommate that I live with now.
Not interested.
That proves...
Not interested.
Oh, okay.
In your affidavit from a roommate.
I have a witness here that was present at the house when Katrina came over and I gave her money.
I have never seen him in my life.
She was not inside the house either.
Just a minute.
She was outside the house, which she didn't come in.
Just a minute.
Can't see what you don't if you don't come in the house, right? Sorry.
Basically, I mean, most of it in here it just says...
Listen to me. All I'm interested in is your response, which says, where do you get $600? Could you just point out where you say to her, you didn't give me $600? Is it in there?
It's right.
that?
Well,
Where's
it's
that?
right here. This one's from Stacy, and then this is my response.
Okay. Right.
That one, and then that's the response.
Okay. court finds that the defendant owes you $1,300, that she has in fact paid you $200 by check, and that's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount $1,300. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Somebody annoying you this morning?
No, not really. Your Honor, this is case number 73 on the calendar in the matter of Marr versus Brown. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Marr, according to your complaint, you and the defendant met on the internet?
That's correct.
And began a relationship that lasted a relatively short period of time. During that time, it is your claim that you made loans to him well in excess of $5,000.
That's correct, Your Honor.
The relationship is over, you want your money. The defendant says that he made no promise to return anything that you gave him, that everything that you bought or gave him were just that, gifts, right?
Correct.
Give me the date when, after you met him on the internet, you met in person.
March 20th of 2000.
And how long did the relationship last?
Up through February 27th of this year.
When was the first loan that you made to him?
May of 2000.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding that.
At that time, he would tell me how stressed he was and he needed money for bills, about $500. And he wanted it in cash, and I did that for him.
Where were you when the conversation took place?
On the phone, late at night.
He said, you said?
He was just said he was behind in bills. He didn't know what he was going to do. You know, he was very stressed. And when he gets stressed, Your Honor, he gets chest pains. And
so you said what?
I said, I'll be happy to loan you the money till you can get on your feet. And it was definitely a loan.
You didn't say to him it's definitely a loan. I just want you to tell me what you said to him.
I said, how much would it take to catch you up in your bills?
That sounds right. That sounds like something you might say to him. How much will it take? And he said $500?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You say he told you it would be about $500.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you say?
I said, I'll be happy to get you on your feet.
Okay. That sounds better. Not probably quite accurate. I'll be happy to help you. Or that wouldn't be a problem. I can help you with that. Is that what you said to him?
I will help you out until you can get on your feet. He was unemployed at the time.
Okay, so you said, I'll help you out until you get on your feet.
Mm-hmm. Which he never did, in my opinion.
Right?
Pardon me?
You said, I'll help you out until you get on your feet. Is that a loan?
Yes.
Yes, that's a loan. Perhaps, if he ever gets on his feet.
Well, he says he's broke. But
then
I know
he's not on his feet?
Well, he
Miss Marr.
He is employed now.
Not on his feet?
That's a matter of opinion.
I understand that. That's not smart of you. All right. So when was the next time you claimed you gave him money?
Would you like to see?
I don't want to see.
Okay.
Listen
I
to
mean,
me.
there was tons of times, and the reason I just kept doing it is because he would tell me he had a terminal illness, he had a year to live. He faked heart attacks, and he would threaten to rob a convenience store, and I would panic and think, you can't do that. That's immoral. That's against the law. What can I do so you're not so stressed? He had heart attacks. That is how my husband died. I was just totally worked up.
Not true, Your Honor.
I have proof.
Just a second.
My son here, he has witnessed these things that I have said.
Listen to me. I want you to calm down and calmly tell me the next time you gave him cash, when was it?
It was in October. He had just moved to a different city.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with him. He moved?
I had spent a few days prior to that, and he never brought it up. The minute I get home from the weekend, he says how stressed he is, he's having chest pain, and that he's behind on some bills, and he needed to get them paid. There was utilities, the water was going to be shut off, his cell phone was going to be shut off, no phone, he wouldn't be able to come and call me. So
what did you say?
I said, what do you need? Why didn't you tell me when I was there?
Okay, and what did he say he needed?
About $600.
You have proof?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it?
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me look at my list here.
The first money in May of 2000, you gave him cash.
That's correct, Your Honor. I have proof that it came out of my savings and cashier's check, that it went directly to him.
I want to know the next cash item that you gave to him.
There's always something. Prescriptions.
No, cash.
I made cash deposits right into his checking account. And I have 3 times I did that in July and August. It was right after his back surgery. He couldn't work. He gave me the same old sob story. And I have all that proof right here, Your Honor.
Let me see it.
And that totaled $1,400 in 3 deposits.
I'd like to see proof of that.
Thank you, Bro.
All right, when was the next cash that you gave to him?
At the end of the year, $400. I have the withdrawals, and I gave him the cash.
That doesn't prove anything. You just withdrew $400, but it doesn't show that it was transferred into his checking account. Is that right?
He didn't have a checking account in town.
Yes, I did.
I gave it right to him because he came down to see me, and the only way he could come down to see me is if he rented a car, and so that's why I gave him $400.
All right.
He would constantly give me these stories that would...
Miss Marr, if you're constantly giving you stories, then you say to him, after the second time he gives you a story, you say to him, adios, goodbye.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hattie Marr claims ex-boyfriend James Brown conned her out of money by playing on her sympathy. Hattie says he faked a heart condition and a life-threatening illness.
Your story is, and I read your complaint, that your husband had died of a heart attack, that you met him, that you were very vulnerable, that he appeared very, very nice person, that he...
But he manipulated me.
Well, you're a grown-up lady?
But I was grieving at the time.
You're a grown-up lady?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so he took advantage of you?
Yes, by faking heart attacks, by threatening to commit suicide. I would be on the phone for hours.
Well, that would have saved you a couple of bucks if he committed suicide. You know, there comes a point when you say, listen, you got to do what you got to do.
But I cared for him. I loved him.
What?
I cared for him, and I loved him, and I believed, and I trusted everything he told me. He had me going all the time.
I got the picture. This is not a hard picture. This is a picture that I see time and time again. I have some money that she can establish she gave to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm not talking about buying you a new tire or buying you prescriptions or paying for your cell phone bill. I'm talking about cash money.
Yes, Your Honor. This is my current...
I don't care about your current. I care about the then.
But Patty had made statements that she wanted to talk to her, and she
Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
I run the show. And if you have a heart attack here, we'll make sure, very, very sure, sir, that you get out the door so you don't interfere with the rest of my calendar. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes.
She gave you cash. She wrote you checks. She deposited cash in your account. Is that true? Is this proof here that I have accurate?
Yes, it is, but
Perfect.
there is...
No. I'll ask the next question. Did you repay her in cash for any of this money? $500, $600, and $1,400. Did you repay her for any of that?
If she wanted me to come down and see her, why would I repay her when she wanted me to come down and see her?
The answer is either yes or no.
No, I told her there was never no talk about repaying her.
I'm asking you a question. Did you pay her back this money?
No.
You acknowledge that she gave you the money?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Now, are you currently under the care of a cardiologist?
No, Your Honor.
Did you at any time indicate to the plaintiff that you had a heart condition?
I do have a heart
The answer
problem.
is either yes or no.
Yes.
You did. And did you at any time tell the plaintiff that you were stressed financially?
Yeah, I was stressed financially, yes.
And after you told her that you were stressed financially, she gave you some money?
Yeah, she said, I'll help you out, here's a gift, you know. And I said, I can't afford to repay you. She knew I could not afford to repay her.
Why can't you afford to repay her?
I was unemployed, Your Honor, raising...
Why were you unemployed?
Because I had back surgery and
A lot of people have back surgery. When did you have back surgery?
June of last year.
Where had you been working before that time, sir?
I was working part-time at Walmart.
Part-time at Walmart? How old are you?
37.
Why were you working part-time at Walmart? What's wrong with you?
I had 2 stomach surgeries.
2 stomach surgeries for what?
Stomach was polyps, cancer.
You know, I doubt that.
Hmm?
When was the
I'm
last
sorry.
time you held a full-time job?
2 years ago. Well, actually, last year. The year before, it was 99.
Con artist. Are you the current girlfriend? Step up here. When did you meet Sir Lancelot?
I met him in February.
You met him in February?
2001.
Can't be without a meal check. What kind of work do you do?
I'm an internet customer service for Northwest Airlines.
How much do you earn annually?
I don't know, probably 25,000.
And what's Prince Charming doing?
He's working full-time.
Mm-hmm.
He
Where?
has been since I've known him.
Where?
He was at Minn Kota, and now he's at, they make trusts.
So he has a nice job?
Yes.
Good, he makes good money?
Yes.
Perfect. You owe $2,500, judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I had spoke with Patty on the phone, and she basically said if she gave him more money, he would come back, and she was addicted to
He
it.
faked 2 heart attacks in my home with my son present.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Adams versus Canham. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Jennifer Adams is suing her former classmate, 17-year-old student Christy Canham, for breaking her ankle during a fight.
Miss Adams, according to your complaint, the defendant assaulted you, you were injured, you want to be compensated. That's what the case is about. How do you know her?
We went to grammar school and to high school together.
Where did this assault take place?
At Annie's house.
At this young lady's house?
Yeah.
When?
October 2nd, 2001.
What was the dispute about?
The dispute was over a CD, but there's more to it. In August of this year, we had a get-together also at Annie's house, where everybody had gone in the house except for Christy and my fiance. And after everyone was inside, she said something to the extent of, fiance or not, I've had guys cheat on their girlfriends with me before.
Mm-hmm.
So he came in the house and he told me about it and didn't do anything about it at that time. We all went to bed, and we hadn't seen each other really during this time from August to October when the incident happened. My CDs had been left at the restaurant where she works, and somebody had gone through them.
You went to the restaurant where she works?
No.
Who left the CDs at the restaurant where she works?
Her little brother had my CDs, left them at the restaurant. Somebody went through them and took out a whole bunch of CDs, but she took one and took it to Hawaii with her.
So she had one of your CDs?
Yes.
Okay.
So I went out to Annie's on October 2nd.
What did you go to Annie's for?
Because we're friends.
Was she expecting you?
It was just we go out there all the time. Nobody expects anyone.
The defendant was there?
Yes.
Did you know the defendant was going to be
No.
there? So when you walked into the house, who was present?
Annie, Jimmy, and Stephanie.
Who's Stephanie?
And she's another friend of ours.
And the defendant?
Yes.
What happened when you got there?
When I got there, I walked in the door. Christy was standing on the opposite side of the room. I asked her where my CD was. She just kind of stood there looking at me. And I said, "You heard me. Where is my CD?" She said, "At my house." And I said, "Well, you better get it." And she asked why I was yelling at her. I said, because I didn't like her anyways, and her stealing my CD was the last straw. She asked me why I didn't like her. There was more arguing during this time, but when I said that I didn't like her, I said it was because she was a scandalous. And I went to walk into the kitchen, and I turned my back. She was sitting in a chair.
So she was sitting?
Yes, she was sitting. By this time, she was sitting.
Was she sitting at the time that you came in and started calling her names?
No.
She was standing?
Yes.
But then she sat down?
Yes.
Okay, so you're walking into another room, she's sitting?
Yes.
What happened next?
So I went to walk into the kitchen. I saw her out of the corner of my eye come at me. So I turned around. She went to hit me. I blocked her hit, put her in a headlock. So I had her in a headlock and she was hitting me and I was hitting her. She couldn't get away from me, so she turned me sideways, pushed me to the ground, snapping my ankle in 2 places. And Annie came over and pulled her off of me. When she did, Christy kicked me while I was on the ground. And then Annie helped me up. I walked into their computer room because that's where Stephanie was. It was about 10 feet. And Annie came in to see if I was all right, and I said, no, you need to take me to the emergency room. I can't walk. Jimmy came and picked me up and carried me to the car. While he was carrying me to the car, she was standing on the steps of the front of their house, yelling, you stupid, get back here, I'm going to kick your ass. I couldn't even stand. So Jimmy puts me in the car and we're going to the emergency room. I told Annie, I said, she hit me first. Annie goes, I know, but she's only 17.
She didn't hit you first. It's not what you just told me. It's not what you just told me at all. You said she went to hit you and you grabbed her and put her in a headlock.
She went to hit me and I blocked her hit. She was still coming at me, and that's why I put her in a headlock. That's not what you said to me. You said, according to you, she went to hit you, you blocked her, and put her in a headlock. That's what you just told me. And I put her in a headlock because she was still coming at me. And we were
And what did
hitting
you
each
do
other.
when you put her in a headlock?
She was hitting me and I was hitting her.
So you had a fight?
Yes.
And you got the worst of it?
Not, she pushed me to the ground and busted my ankle.
She pushed you to the ground during the course of a fight that you started.
She came at me.
She pushed you to the ground during the course of a fight that you started.
I was walking away from the situation and she came at me from
after you had started it.
So
if you were going to testify, is that what you would testify to? Exactly what she said? Huh?
Yes.
Perfect. Somebody's going to always get the worst of a fight. Isn't that right, Bird?
It's usually how it happens, Judge.
Usually how it happens. This time you got the worst of the fight. You walked into your friend's house and created a scene, and you didn't get any response from her the first time. You said to her, give me the blank CD. Give me the blank CD. Then, clearly, according to you, I'm not even going to her. According to you, she was standing, but then she sat down. And then you continued to call her names.
We were yelling at each other.
She didn't start yelling at you. You walked in and immediately, according to you, started to call her foul names. Right?
Yeah.
So you got a broken ankle? Huh?
Well,
You got a broken ankle during the course of the fight?
Yes.
That's what happens. Suck it up. That's all.
All these are excuses. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Levin versus Richter.
Thanks, Bert.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Levin, according to your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant. You were there for a relatively short period of time. You claim you left as a result of her constant harassment, both sexual harassment and otherwise, and you are seeking a substantial amount of money for that harassment and the stress that she caused you, in addition to the return of your security deposit, which I believe was $200. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Ms. Richter says that you were the source of the irritation in the household, that you caused her a great deal of stress and aggravation, that you left your room in miserable condition when you left, and you also left owing some bills. So she is counterclaiming. Is that right, Ms. Richter?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Mr. Levin, how did you find this room in the defendant's home?
It was advertised in a local newspaper.
Did you have a job that time close by to where the defendant was living?
I've been disabled. I'm a physician, general practice. I've been disabled since 1995 due to what has turned into 7 neck operations.
Do you have a private house?
I have a mobile home.
So the room that you were renting was in a mobile home?
It's a mobile home park, and I have a small room in that home, yes.
How much was the monthly rent?
$400.
When did you move in?
It was July 20th, I believe.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes.
And when did you move out?
I moved out several times because I was hospitalized several times during the month and a half or so that I was there. But I moved my things out September 2nd and 3rd.
So far, are those dates correct?
No, none of them.
Okay, when did he move in?
He brought his things over 2 days before the 1st.
Of what?
Of July. And he moved in the day before the 1st of July. And he moved out on the 4th of September.
Okay. Did he pay July's rent?
He paid July's rent.
$400, and he gave you a security deposit. Is
He
that
gave
correct?
me, yeah.
$200.
He gave me $200 security deposit.
Okay. And did he pay August's rent?
He paid August rent and then canceled the checks.
Is that correct, sir?
The whole thing is...
Is that correct, sir?
No, it is not.
Did you pay for the month of August?
Yes, and I did. And I also paid $200 for food.
Don't tell me food.
Prior
no
to that.
food. Rent. Did you give her $400 in August,
Yes.
1st of August for rent? You have that canceled check.
I
assume
don't.
You do.
I have the canceled checks.
I'll see it, please. Okay. Mr. Levin, what caused you to move out of the house?
Your Honor, I moved into the home initially because of my disability. I've had chronic pain, and I've also developed an illness called polyneuropathy, where my feet are like on fire all the time, and I needed help. The arrangement was Ms. Richter would make food, make lunches for me daily.
Ms. Richter, don't play with your papers. Listen carefully to what he's saying.
I'm listening.
And she would make dinner for me. And I paid extra $200 for that. And that was the understanding. At these meals, she would talk constantly, and it became evident to me that I was almost being used as a mate in this home.
As a mate?
As a mate. And I was being talked to as if I was her partner. And then what happened that made me move out was that she began to look at my body, and she looked at my legs at one point, and then she says, "You have really nice legs." I wear shorts all the time. And at that point, I was very disgusted. I'm not interested in a 72-year-old woman in that way. I'm a physician and a professional person. So I realized at that time I better not have meals with her. I didn't want to listen to her talk as if I was her mate. I didn't want her looking at my body.
What would she say, sir, that suggested to you she was talking as if you were her mate?
Well, I would have to listen to all of her history of where she lived and what all the people that she knew and where she worked and the different stores that she owned, and look at the pictures of her in her stores and get to know all about her. And then when I didn't know...
That doesn't sound like a mate. I don't even talk to my mate. What over meals?
Well, when I didn't...
You have a newspaper. What are newspapers for?
When I didn't know enough, I was told, you don't know anything about me. At any rate...
Have you ever been married, sir?
Yes, I have, ma'am.
How long were you married?
I was married for 14 years.
And you talked to your wife over dinner like that?
I talked to my wife and children at dinner.
Over dinner, like that? You know, a whole bunch of stories and pictures and history? No, you don't.
Well,
she was a friend. I mean, I don't understand
no,
why you...
there was more, because I was not interested in listening to her talk about herself constantly.
What did she think she should be talking about?
I didn't even want to talk. I wanted to have my food and...
In peace.
And peace, which is guaranteed as part of a... when you rent a room, you're guaranteed peace of mind. That's part of the rental agreement.
Dr. Levin, when you rent a room from someone in a mobile home, you're not in Graceland. It's sort of a confined space. So it would seem to me if she made you dinner, she would make herself dinner at the same time and sit down and eat with you.
But, Your Honor, that wasn't the plan.
That wasn't the plan in your mind. The plan in your mind was she would prepare meals, leave them, and leave you alone to eat. If that's what the sexual harassment part of your claim is.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. The harassment was when she started looking at my body in the kitchen and looking at my legs and saying, "You have kind of nice legs." And that was to me, very demeaning.
You have nice legs?
That's not for me to comment on. I'm sorry.
Well, if somebody told me I had nice legs, I wouldn't consider that sexual harassment, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Richard Levin says ex-roommate 72-year-old Margot Richter won't return his security deposit. Margot says Richard was impossible to live with.
All right, let's go. I don't think much of this harassment, sexual harassment. Let's move on to what you want. You want your security deposit back?
I was injured by this woman in a number of ways beyond wanting the security deposit.
So tell me the rest.
I opened up to her emotionally as if I was a confidant. I could talk to her. I thought she was a friend. I'd suffered from depression throughout my life and had a problem with my father. And she makes a statement to me after I stopped having meals there. She makes a statement, "Oh, I know why your father hated you. You're a horrible person." To me, that was really an upsetting comment. I was also told, "I hope you choke to death on that sandwich that you're eating." And I didn't exactly need that kind of comment either when I'm in chronic pain and having a lot of medical problems. I was given...
You really didn't have
I would like to
Ms.
finish.
Richter, don't speak to him.
There was a restraining order that I couldn't come within 10 feet of the woman, which meant I couldn't use the kitchen. So no longer could I have food made, or I couldn't even try to make it for myself. I had to eat out of the back of my pickup truck, out of a cooler, for 2 weeks. I was also assaulted physically by the woman.
Tell me how
tried...
you were assaulted physically, because you mentioned that, but you don't really talk about it in your complaint.
I was trying to get some butter to put on some oatmeal from the refrigerator, and she has
Was that before or after the restraining order?
This was before.
Go ahead.
I opened the refrigerator. She has a thing about not keeping the refrigerator open more than 2 seconds. This was maybe 3 seconds. I reach for the butter. She grabs my wrist, shoves me out of the way, and I'm unable to walk, and my feet are extremely painful.
What a lie.
And I do not feel that she has that right to shove me physically. I called the police, and deputy came to the house, and he asked me if I wanted her arrested. And I said, yes.
Was she arrested?
This is assault.
Was she arrested?
He did not arrest her.
Okay. Did you get your security deposit back?
I was told at the end, do not clean your room. I was feeling throughout this time that this woman was very jealous that I had a girlfriend. She comes and she pounds on the door when I'm on the phone with my girlfriend in the evening, screaming and pounding on the door. She got the phone number somehow of my girlfriend. This was a few weeks ago. She calls her up and spends 20 minutes telling her what a horrible person I am.
Why didn't your girlfriend hang up?
I don't know.
Why don't you ask her?
I did.
And what did she say?
She said that she doesn't do that to people.
Doesn't hang up on people?
Yeah.
Where are you living now?
I'm living in La Jolla.
With whom?
I'm living by myself in an apartment.
By yourself? No more girlfriend?
I have a girlfriend.
She stay over?
She lives where she lives.
And so you just visit?
Yes.
Fine. You're getting along okay by yourself?
I'm doing my best, but I also feel I have been harmed by this woman, and I do feel that my suit is just.
Well, not every affront, Dr. Levin, is cause for a lawsuit. What you were complaining about was first some harassment by her because she was treating you as a mate, which is something you hadn't bargained for. But then later you said to me that you confided in her as a friend about certain things about your own life and your relationship with your father. So it's clear to me that this just wasn't a one-sided conversation where you were trying to blindly have your dinner and she was just yakking off at the mouth and you just wanted to be quiet. There was a conversation.
Which ended with the business about my body.
Stop saying your body, sir. Talk about the fact that she looked at your legs while you were in shorts and she said to you, you have nice legs. If, in fact, she said that at all. I mean, that's not something that would send a rational person into a tailspin.
Well, it was more than the statement. It was the feeling that went with it. You can tell when a person is doing
I
that.
don't think that she was prepared to attack you, Dr. Levin.
Well, I wasn't worried about being attacked. It was
You
a
were worried
feeling
about what?
that she had other ideas than my just sitting there and eating meals, that I was to be something more than a renter.
Well, that's possible, sir. Maybe she felt as if you had developed a friendship over the course of the month or so that you were living there. You confiding in her about your intimate history, she confiding in you about her intimate history. Maybe she felt as if you were just shy and not prepared to make the first move. Now, she is, as you point out in your complaint, somewhat older than you are, but is your girlfriend somewhat younger than you are?
No.
The same age? Good for you. Like to hear that. Don't like to hear about these guys dating.
That's wrong, too. She's quite a bit younger.
No, she's a year older than I am, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, she probably looks pretty good then.
Yes, Your
She
Honor.
ever been married?
I don't know.
You don't know if your girlfriend's ever been married?
I don't choose to discuss it.
She's never been married. She has no children. Now I know why she looks terrific.
She has children.
All right. Let me get to your counter.
The real damage was my being unable to eat when I couldn't use the kitchen. I couldn't be within 10 feet of this woman.
It's a lie.
I had to eat out of the back of my truck while ill.
Dr. Levin, is that as a result of a court order?
This was, yes, I couldn't be within 10 feet of her.
I cannot look beyond that, sir. I cannot look beyond the order of another court that says you cannot be within 10 feet or whatever of the defendant. That's something that a court determined that they were prepared to impose as a result of some fact, which I'm not prepared to get into now. Now, you didn't return his security deposit.
No, because it was used up.
Okay.
Because he canceled the checks, and then he gave me only one check for the rent back. And
I have a stop payment on this check, sir, that's made out to Margot Richter, dated the 3rd of August, for $433 for August's rent and July's utilities. Did you cancel a check that you sent to her?
Yeah, but I paid it after that.
No, you didn't.
When I
The whole
decided to
check.
stay, I did pay it.
Can I see a copy of your check?
I don't have it.
Well,
I
then
haven't
the
felt
only
well
thing-
enough to find anything, Your Honor,
Dr.
when
Levin,
I try to get these
Dr. Levin,
papers.
this is, you have a whole bunch of papers there, and it would seem to me that you would know that I would ask you to make sure that there was rent paid each month that you were living there and utilities, and the only thing that I have is a check that you stopped payment on, dated August 3rd, and also a check that you stopped payment on, dated August 4th, that you indicated here were for lunches. Now, so you say the security deposit was used up.
Yes.
I agree with you, because he didn't pay the rent for August. So you don't have to return a security deposit. Now, what else are you suing him for? I want to hear about your stress.
Okay, he called the police twice on me. He called the fire department and said I gave him a heart attack. And
Your Honor,
he
that was
crushed
not
my.
true.
He was never home on during the day. He was always on the beach. That's what he told me anyway. And that Sunday, I have planned my barbecue for the longest. Once a year, I have a barbecue, and my friends come from far away. And he wanted to crash my party, so he stayed home and called the police on me.
Miss Richter.
Yeah.
Are you happy to be rid of him?
Oh yes, I am.
So now you're rid of him.
Yeah, but I have been. I'm not the same. I tell you that.
Well,
I only had 4 hours sleep because I can't sleep. I'm